we got numbers and...
God damn. All right. Cleveland Moto Podcast number 452. Please, Febreze. What the Jesus? Sleepy. There's this thing. It sounds like a mouse on a single cylinder motorcycle just rode through the podcast. And Sleepy's like, I had lentil soup. You had lentil soup?
Good God.
Did you eat it out of a corpse?
I think it did, dude.
I mean, come on.
There's a problem here because as soon as it gets out, it's like bubbling and making more.
No kidding. You got a problem. You should probably go get that checked.
I think...
And this is coming from me. I spent a lot of money on nutritionists.
I really do. I kind of feel like... There's hyenas that smell better than that.
They probably wouldn't eat that.
Hey, man, I always try to... I never want to underwhelm with anything I
have
do.
some charcoal air filters for your ass that my wife bought me a couple years ago. I'm about to go get my leftover
N95s.
Just make him
Okay, enough about me. As much as I like to talk about it. Don't we have a guest we're waiting for?
Yeah, I think...
we're working on that. Let's work on that. Welcome to episode number 452. To my immediate left, we have...
Dan Kroenke.
And to his left...
Steve Furt Sleepy.
And to his left...
John McElfresh.
And to his left...
Chris Smith.
And behind the bar tonight...
Tom Pennington.
And your humble narrator, Phil Waters. Tonight, yet again, I gotta say, I don't know how it happened, but I've ended up with another Great Lakes Christmas sale. And the reason... What you talking about?
A little bit. There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
And you're the one who's going to burp into the son of a bitch later
no
on.
Kidding.
All that shit.
You need to pretend he's standing up, not lying down.
And you're going to criticize my microphone technique.
No. It
like
wasn't
butter
your
dripping
fault.
off
You had it there, but it was
biscuit.
So it was
I did so I could open the beer, buddy.
Bouncing a little bit.
Yeah. I don't come to your job and knock the dick out of your mouth.
I'm at my job, though. That's what I'm doing right now.
So, but I wanted to say that because Rheingeist Brewery in Cincinnati is doing the Garage Brewed motorcycle show.
Yeah.
Saturday, February 3rd. And I've only had the pleasure of going once. And when I went, it was a much smaller event. We're going to circle back to this later in the podcast because I want to make sure that all of our friends within a 738-mile radius of Cincinnati have to make a decision between that and the AIM Expo in Vegas. There's two motorcycle-y things to do, kind of one in the Midwest and one on the West Coast. So yay, super cool. We did want to give a call, if we could, out to the folks, Richard, at Janus, or Janus Motorcycle Company, because they've made a change. They've altered some things. And honestly, this is one of those things where if you listen to this podcast, if you listen to motorcycle podcasts, you're familiar with the Janus retro motorcycles. They are something that is a 1920s style throwback. Chris, what is the best? Since you're not only are you an owner, you're not the hair club member, but you're also the president. What's your opinion? Like, what would be a good way for you to introduce somebody to the idea of what a Janus motorcycle is?
It's a smaller bike, and it's going to be utilized, I would say, around the city mostly, or on slower roads. Mm-hmm. It's not anything that you want to be taking on the highway for any extended period of time, unless you know somebody to call and come pick you up when.
Unless you're driving it home from
Goshen, Indiana.
Bingo.
Which I did happen to do.
In which case, driving it all the way from Goshen, Indiana to Cleveland, Ohio is totally normal.
Yeah.
Especially on a bike with 1 mile on it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So. Voicemail. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do him a solid. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to text him real quick and let him know that that's the kind of thing where he can just give me a call on this number whenever he wants.
Yeah, if he doesn't recognize your number, he might not want to answer.
Well, you can call me at this
scam
number
likely
the podcast period. Thanks.
However.
All right, we're back. We'll see if he calls in. But so not long ago, Janus did something kind of big, which was to go to a 450cc.
Right.
Because the idea of the 250 was kind of like, we don't have to build it with a racing chassis. We don't have to build it with racing suspension if we're only going to put 250 in it. What was the rule about the Lake Erie Loop? It's not a race because every bike in it can't go over 85 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to say it's not a race if you're limiting it to, 200 cc's. Mm-hmm. as people started showing up with bikes that were under 200 cc's but could go over 100 miles per hour, the playing field shifted a little bit, right? Now, Janus has a 450cc motor available, which does shift the playing field a little bit. It's quite a bit more power than the 250. In the case of Chris's bike has been breathed on. It's been modified. So it, too, now has more power than the original design called for of the 250. These things are gorgeous. I mean, these motorcycles are absolutely beautiful. But don't expect to see it down at your mega dealer in the row with 300 other motorcycles fighting for space with the CFMOTO 250.
I think it's best described as a boutique bike.
I do. I like the idea of a boutique or a bespoke motorcycle, and it ain't for everybody. It's not. And if you're delivering papers and you've only got 2 shekels to rub together, this might not be the best bike for you.
But I think also for some guys, I mean, Chris was riding with thing, but I've heard that a lot of guys that wanted to get involved with some of those, like the rides that are like your bike has to be pre-1930. A lot of them are getting exclusions for it because they fit into that whole aesthetic. So they don't look out of place on the rides.
So when you're going past the parade of minivans and SUVs that all blend in, nobody's going to know that you're not riding a 1919 Cleveland or something.
Exactly.
Right?
Look at, perfect parody. Look at the Royal Alloy.
Right.
Royal Alloy 300.
Yeah.
It's not a GTS 300. No matter what you do, you can set them side, but we set them side by side every day. And it's not the same thing because it does not have that old vintage aesthetic to it.
I don't think, though, there's a lot of venom out there. There's a lot of venom in the world of the vintage Volkswagen people that are like, don't you dare show up at our event with your modern Beetle.
Oh, yeah.
You get no credit for that. There's a lot of vintage Mini people.
There's a lot of vintage moped snobs.
Right? The vintage Mini people don't want you showing up in a BMW car.
You almost got to. When did they come out with the new Beetle? Like, you can almost put a historical plate on it.
They're 20 years old.
It's getting close.
Yeah.
But in that world, there's a lot of venom there. And in our dumb-ass scooter community, there was a lot of venom when the design came out for the Royal Alloy. And when I had a prototype and I took it out years and years and years ago to scooter events, there were 2 camps of people. The one camp of people was like, yeah, it's a fucking fake Lambretta and blah, blah, blah. And they really just fucking hated on it. But everyone else was like, you know what? That's a Lambretta that I can get to work on and go 85 miles an hour on. And it's not going to break every 17 and a half minutes. So that was 6-7 years ago.
You can keep them running, man. You just got to throw $1,200 at them every 2 weeks. Dude, if I was going to throw $1,200 at a bike, I'd just buy a Norton.
But you know what? It's not the $1,200. A lot of people have $1,200 in their pocket every 2 weeks. It's the fact that there's 7 people in America that can work on it, and only one of them agrees to.
Yeah. Yep.
Hi, it's Phil at ClevelandMoto. Hey, how you doing? So we got you on the podcast now. We can hear you.
Great.
Fantastic. So we are going to talk about your Origins program and how, we just got done talking about your 450 and what a big introduction that was to all of our people that, maybe wanted a little more power out of their historical looking motorcycle so they could maybe take some freeway trips and stuff like that. But this idea, tell us a little bit about the idea of the Origins program.
Yeah, so I guess, it's really starting 4 years ago is really when we initially just facing the rising costs of materials, our supply chain, and just inflation in general. We found that we needed to raise the price of basically all our models, and it really it hasn't stopped in that sense. Everything's continuing to get more and more expensive. I was just talking to my wife about buying groceries, and we were talking about how everything is even more expensive than before Christmas. And so really just to combat that, we've had to raise the price of our main line, the standard Halcyon 250, the 250 line and the 450 line. But we also know that it just so happens that Janus our bikes are, to put it mildly, not the cheapest 250 or 450 on the market.
Well, let's just say that. Let's just get that out of the way right now.
Yeah.
The elephant in the room is that this is not a motorcycle that's for the person that's primary interest is the budget.
Yeah. So when we just kind of go back to the mentality we took to these bikes from the very beginning. Even when we made a 50cc version of the Halcyon, it was not to make a low-powered bike that was a budget bike. We make a low-powered, lightweight motorcycle because that's what we like, and we choose to make one that has many, many different options. It's handmade, and it's also not just handmade, it's handmade extremely locally. We call it hyper-local supply chain. And so, just get the elephant in the room out there is they are not the goal is for them not to be the cheapest thing, and nor are they. However, we also simultaneously we don't really want these to be something like Arch or even something like Modus or some of these are Confederate or what is it now, Curtis. You don't want these things to be elitist or astronomically expensive. Many of our owners, even with the current pricing, are just regular people, like Chris.
Like Chris, exactly.
Like Chris.
Well, I don't know about that.
First time I've been called regular in a while.
But they enjoy these things, and they are, they do still fall within the realm of something that just about anyone can save up for. It's just when you pair it with maybe a 250 that you're used to, it's a little different. All that said, we were like, what can we do on a bike that is already pretty minimal, to put it lightly again? Our whole thing is basically carrying down a motorcycle to what is essential. How do we take this and we try and make it more approachable to folks that like myself, that don't have a whole lot of money to burn.
Well,
And
if I may, you guys are in a peer group of one, right? There is no other manufacturer. There's no place that I can buy a bike that competes with your bike. We look at certain things like a Royal Enfield Meteor or something like that, and those bikes are emulating something that's 40 years newer looking than your bike, right? So your bike is one of one.
Royal Enfield, people say, well, what's your competitor? And I say, well, we don't really have one, but if I were to say what our customers are shopping between, it's often Royal Enfield.
Right.
The funny thing is that Royal Enfield is part of it's manufactured by one of the largest motorcycle manufacturers in the world. Whereas Janus is manufactured by Janus, which is probably the smallest motorcycle manufacturer in the world. There may be some kind of custom shop that's smaller. So there's a big difference there. It's a good point. It is a peer group of one. And so we kind of have to, on the one hand, we do whatever we want. And on the other hand, we are responsible for our own actions. So we have to make sure that we can provide something that it sells. We're a company that works just like everybody else. There has to be the demand there. And so we put a lot of thought into it, and we approached it a couple of different ways. Some people could say, what is the price difference is around $1,800 less than a fully loaded one. I don't know what the standard is, 8,800. Let's just say Halcyon 250. The Origin line Halcyon 250 starts at just under 7,000. So you're at around, I don't know, let's say a little less than $1,000 difference, which may not sound like a lot to some people, or it may sound like a lot to some people if they're familiar with manufacturing. But one way, of course, we did that was by reducing the number of available options. And that translates into man hours or people hours, pinstriping, polishing, adding different options and upgrades. There's some math you can do there with the amount of labor that goes into it. The other thing, which actually may be more significant, is our ability to, in our own little way, streamline the production and hold inventory. So by offering a limited number of colors, for example, the primary color, which would be, if you look at a Halcyon, it's the main color of the bike: tank, fenders, airbox, headlight bucket. That's only available in black and cream. So sort of a little Henry Ford production.
That's right.
Hue there.
Any color you want, as long as it's black, right?
Yeah, at least we give one more color than Ford did, but
right.
and then one pinstripe option. And of course, that's great because it limits the amount of work, but much more significantly, it means that we can streamline that. We can hold inventory and reduce our cash on, or increase our cash on hand by having that. And that's not to be underestimated. If you're familiar with manufacturing, that's really one of the things that's allowed us to do this. And so I'm really excited about it. It's really been a kind of a breath of fresh air in the shop to be able to open up this, to get that price down a little bit. Cause that is probably, not probably, that's one of the top complaints we get, is that, $250, I could get 3 Sportsters for that.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to point out to the people that are listening is that difference. Just to clarify, the price difference between Halcyon, the way that you were selling it last year, and the Halcyon Origin is $1,500. Now, $1,500 to here's what my experience with American motorcycle shoppers is: they can't leave their damn hands off of something. They're going to change it. They want to tweak on stuff. They want to wrench on something. And especially when we're talking about a single cylinder, we sell a lot of TNT 135s, small displacement motorcycles. People always want to mess with stuff. And your motorcycle is perfect for that. And giving somebody a base model, like the joke that Tom was saying today, nobody's ever left an exhaust system on a Harley-Davidson. And the new Sportsters, the exhaust systems look like they're designed to be taken off, right? So your idea of putting just enough exhaust system on it to sell it to the customer, and is that going to get changed out pretty quick? Yeah, I'll bet you it is. But that guy's got $1,500 now to play with, making that bike into his bike.
Yeah.
And
so that's a great point. You're bringing up basically the second part of the story. Really gets to the name Origin too. The idea that so many of our customers, one of the benefits of what we do is that we offer so many different options. We kind of compare ourselves sometimes to Morgan cars, the crazy English cars that have even more options than we do in some ways. But there's just it's rare that we see 2 bikes leave the shop identical because of the number of not just paint options, but the number of things you can add. And typically we add those at the factory. But what we've done with the Origin line is we're really kind of leaning into this idea that this is something that people can build out over time, and you can add your own things. And, Janus, we offer a lot of different upgrades, especially for the Halcyon 250. We're coming out with a whole lot more for the 450 right now. But you can, instead of packaging this all into one big purchase, you could spread that out over some birthdays or a vacation present to yourself, or oddly enough, there is actually an aftermarket for Janus motorcycles. Even as small as we are, you can put different exhausts on them, tail lights, cylinder kits, cams. There's a potential for you to do a lot to these after the fact.
I have ridden Chris's bike. So I've ridden Chris's bike when it was in version 1.0, version 2.0, and version 3.0, right? And I can absolutely, tell you that the difference that you can get out of this push rod, we just call it, I'm not wrong for just saying, like, in a generic term, I'm calling your bike a push rod 250 Leaf-on motor.
It's the same. Leaf-on also is probably the most famous manufacturer of this motor. Yeah.
Right. And so I guess that's just my generic term. Like, a lot of people will misuse the words GY6 when they're talking about certain scooter motors, et cetera. Using it as sort of a Kleenex anachronism kind of deal. But riding Chris's bike in all 3 ways that it is presented, it's been presented to me, I've got to say, yes, there is absolutely an aftermarket world for the Halcyon. It does lend itself to tuning. And I can also see people buying this Halcyon Origin and not putting things on, but taking things off. Because you're not giving people a stripper bike. The bike that's coming out is still full fenders, full handlebars. The bike, it's not rolling out with plastic fenders. It's not rolling out with,
That's a really good point you make. I mean, that's something that we stress with folks, is that we thought about when we were coming out with this, like, what, obviously you think, what can we remove? And fenders are definitely something that you consider, different things like that. And that's one of my pet peeves is motorcycles without fenders. I'm like, it's not a bike if it doesn't have the ability to ride in the rain or do all that kind of stuff. So we've left these things. It is structurally the same bike as a, classic Halcyon 250. It's just essentially at this point, finish things and options or upgrades that are removed. The standard bike is exactly the same. It's a full motorcycle. These are hand-formed steel fenders made by us right here. Everything is there. So that's a really good point.
I want to see a more fender version.
Yeah, I mean,
like a fully enclosed fender, like an old Indian.
John Meckelfresh was just saying that he wants to see something like a swoopy fender, like an Art Deco fender.
Yeah.
An Indian style, a chieftain style fender to really, to really sell that out. But what I think is funny is, when we look at your motorcycle and, there's this $1,500 price delta between the way that you could buy the bike as a Halcyon 250 non-origin and then this $1,500 price point. But what's funny is if I were to look at the Halcyon, the way that you were selling the bike before, there were probably 4 or 5 items that I would have put on the bike to build it out for me personally, right? Mm-hmm. Which would have raised the price of that $8,495 bike considerably higher, right?
Yep.
And with your Origin program, I'm paying $1,500 less, but I can still cherry pick those 6 items that I really want. And I did that for just a little thought experiment at the shop. And I took the bike as your old platform Halcyon and said, okay, these are the 6 items I want to have on my bike. And not like Chris's bike. Chris's bike is a prom queen. That's like, it somehow went from being a military motorcycle to a military parade motorcycle, right?
Yep.
And so I would have a little bit of a different flavor on mine. But because of the Origin platform having a starting out point $1,500 less, it actually makes my overall build cost about $1,500 less, but I still end up with the exact perfect bike that I would have ordered anyway. And that can only be done because of this. Yeah, I can only do it that way.
A good example of that would be like if someone, they want a bone stock one, but hey, I want to add polished engine fins or a headlight visor, or that's my sticking point is I want this thing. Now this actually opens up the range of options that you have to be able to build your bike exactly the way you want it from scratch. And that, again, I think that really the hardest part for me of the whole project was not like saying what we're going to remove, but it was what are we going to call this thing? So the Origin line was a kind of like a group effort. I won't claim total origination for that, but for me that actually was the hardest part. But I think that was, you were able to capture that idea that this is a starting point for you to build your customized Janus motorcycle. And the only thing that maybe would limit you, let's just say, if you're going to do this, is maybe you wanted to have double pinstripe or 2 different colors of pinstripe or a polished tank. That's going to be a little harder for you to do after the fact.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
As far as like book racks and tool rolls and fender, different headlights or whatever, stuff like that, all those options and upgrades are now something that you can choose on at a later date. And even up to the other thing that one way we saved lowered the cost was reducing the warranty. However, we start off with a 4-year. So the classic 250 has a 4-year standard fender to fender unlimited mileage warranty, which I believe is an industry standard.
Yeah, that's cocky.
Anyone else offers that?
Could you order a whole body set?
We stand behind them. But
could you order a whole new body set if you wanted?
Warranty. Now, at any point up until your warranty expires, you can extend that for $200 a year.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Meckelfresh has got a question for us.
Yeah, go ahead.
Could you order a new set of bodywork, tank, side panels? Could you buy that from you without buying the whole bike?
I'm sorry. What was the whole?
What
question?
He's asking is if you can order a set of bodywork a la carte. Can you just straight up? Can John call you up and order, black with a double pinstripe and gold?
100%, absolutely. And what we've just launched. You all mentioned some Art Deco fenders, and we just launched ducktail fenders, which
There
means
you
we have
go.
a flare at the
Yeah.
back.
So not only that, you can order your Art
We're
Deco.
going to have a lot of. We already had a lot of customers that are basically just buying another set of fenders, same color, same pinstripe with this feature. So yeah, you can swap all that stuff out if you want. It's just going to be a little. That's kind of a bigger investment. That's a more expensive upgrade because you're getting obviously a hand-formed bodywork that's been hand pinstriped.
And because we've been talking, for many years now, since before even Chris got his, we've been talking about your products, and it's Fascination, even back to the 49cc days. Kind of a fascinating thing, because what you guys are doing is you're a cottage industry. You're some guys that wanted to do it, put it together, and made it happen. To me, the cost isn't offensive to me, because this would never be, okay, this is my only motorcycle. This is going to be my Distinguished Gentleman's Ride bike. This is going to be my, certain applications. Chris has got a whole lot of bikes, and he rides this bike more than I think a lot of guys that own Janice bikes, or what we call like the prom queen bike or the DGR type bike. It's a very, very cool project. I think it's something that we all respect. The price tag is kind of secondary when you get into the amount of passion and the care that you guys are taking in this product. And initially, that sticker shock factor, people have softened on that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know?
So.
Do you know how many of your products were at the Cleveland DGR last year?
I have no idea. How many?
Chris, how many were there? There were 3. That's a surprisingly high concentration for a hand-built motorcycle, right?
Yeah, when you think we have about, I don't know, at this point, 1,600 bikes around the world at this point. That's the total number of Janus bikes out there.
Yeah, I got to say, that's pretty incredible. I think it's cool. I did notice that you definitely do have a certain target market, though. When these guys were standing in a row, we couldn't tell them apart. Not the bikes, the guys. So that's it.
Does Chris match that?
Chris was, he was in fine company. They could have been the same team. So pretty cool though. It's really, really neat. I do appreciate taking the time to reach out. Is there anything we haven't hit on yet that a message you want to make sure people get? Because Chris is your best unpaid hype man over here in Cleveland. He's taken people that I was trying to sell a Vespa to and just hijacked the whole ordeal. I thought we were going to have to order a Janus for him, but he's really good at it because he's passionate about it, and we all like that. We feel strongly about it too. He puts his money where his mouth is. He rides his bike. Is there anything you want to make sure gets out there?
Oh man, I think you all have done a great job. I guess one take on it, I would just say that maybe I haven't really said before, but is that what you're seeing here, price point and uniqueness and the customers, all the things that you've mentioned, what you're seeing is what it takes to be a motor vehicle manufacturer from scratch today on this scale. It's not easy, and to do it, we've chosen a route of finding a really different niche. And like you said, this is often one tool in our customers' toolbox that they, it's very frequent. A lot of our customers have a Ducati, a BMW, a Harley, whatever else, and this is one other tool in their toolbox. The other end of the spectrum is we have a lot of new riders that just want something they've never seen themselves as a motorcyclist, and they want something different. But I would just say, it's a team of 20 people working out of an old building in downtown Midwest, building something. And some of the byproducts of that is, it's going to be a little more expensive than, just scale makes it come out this way. But you also get a lot of soul and story, and it's a lot of fun to both build them and to own one. So
absolutely,
I really appreciate having me on.
Chris got a question. Chris, go ahead, fire away.
And you can relate this. Anytime I've had a question,
Into the mic.
anytime that I've had a question about the Janus, I can call their phone number.
Yeah.
And somebody picks up the phone and answers the question. And
Chris is commenting that he's had one-to-one connectivity. He can call you. He can pick up the phone, call you, get an answer to a question right away. That's responsive. That's personal. That's what people expect from a bespoke product. To the people who listen to our podcast, Jesse James sold a hell of a lot of motorcycles, and not a single one of them was DOT compliant. Okay, Orange County Choppers sold a hell of a lot of motorcycles, and not a single one of them was NHTSA compliant. Right? What these guys have done is they've built a bike that is legal. It's not in some weird
California.
Yeah, it's even legal in California. Good luck doing that, right? All these custom chopper shows where those street pro street style choppers, not a single bike that rolled out of those TV shows was DOT, EPA, NHTSA legal. Not one of them. Every single bike these guys are selling is a safe product. It's a product that's not waiting to kill you. And that ain't easy. And if you think
also
it's
a product that we're willing to put a 4-year warranty on. So
yeah.
So
if you think that's easy, try it yourself. These guys have actually put their money where their mouth was. I gotta say, if you tried, or I tried to build this motorcycle in our garage, pull off the same vintage board tracker look or vintage, touring bike look, turn of the century motorcycle from back in the noughties or whatever. If we tried to do that, we couldn't do it at your price. We just couldn't. There's no way. And you're doing it with a warranty. You're doing it with parts support. And yeah, once you get the elephant in the room and you acknowledge it, but you look at what it costs to build it, or you look at what it costs to get it out to the people, it's not a bad deal. It's really not a bad deal. I think your origin idea is brilliant. I think that's great. More power to you.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks for having me on.
Yeah, great, man. Well, I'll let you go to bed or take care of your kids or do whatever you're going to do right now. We're going to drink some more drinks and talk some more shit.
Sounds great.
All right. Thanks, man.
Catch y'all later.
Cheers. Bye.
cool.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, that was great. And that's a really interesting thing because now, we've got somebody in our group. Chris has got one.
Yeah.
And we've all got to experience it and check it out. We kind of feel like in the ClevelandMoto stable of weird bikes that we have, that certainly is one of them, right? That's part of the weird.
Well,
here.
as much grief as McElfresh especially has given him about the Janus.
I just like the name.
Yeah, we all like the name.
I don't think
I don't like being singled out for that. But that's
fair.
fine. That's fine.
fair. But after looking at the Royal Alloy this morning and talking to you about the GTS and everything else side by side, this makes a lot of sense.
Do you know what's funny, though, is it might be the perfect smokescreen. If you don't want somebody to talk about your single-cylinder pushrod engine, call it the Butthole 250, and everyone's going to focus on the name Butthole 250. Nobody's going to talk about the pushrods or the 6,500 RPM or whatever. They're just going to focus on the name. So maybe it's just the most brilliant thing ever to give it a name. But we also understand the Roman origins of the name.
Yeah.
And the idea is great.
And they do. I'm not, like I said, ever since the first time I saw one, they do look really, really cool.
Dude, the 450 is a different bike. Like,
we just have a 9-year-old mentality. That's
exactly.
The 450
that's been our biggest. That's been our biggest hang up on it. Is just we're all children.
Right. Yeah. No, definitely the 450cc bike.
I liked riding Chris's bike.
Okay.
I rode it up and down the street. It was amazing. Everybody laughed. A guy stopped, chased me down the street in his car, rolled down the window to ask me what it was.
Right.
But
I have not ridden anything.
How fun is that?
Exactly. That hasn't happened in years.
How dangerous is that?
Exactly. Sleepy, what were you saying?
I was just gonna say, like, compared to what it looks like on the website, when you actually look at it, like, look at it in this picture, it doesn't look anything like it did on the website. It's like fat, it's thick.
Oh, yeah.
Like
The 450 in particular.
Well, Chris, yours is the 250 or the 450?
Mine's a 2.
Okay.
Yeah. The 450 definitely has the chunkier look to it.
Oh, yeah.
Everything about it's a little thicker, a little beefier. It does have the rear suspension.
The monoshock, yeah.
Softail style monoshock suspension.
That's what I was going to ask, Chris. You don't have the suspension on yours, do you?
It's a Hardy.
That's what I'm say.
Yep. And this has that look of the chunkier Firestone style tires that you'd see on a military motorcycle or something like that when you look at the 450.
I'm kind of digging that thing, man.
Yeah, I believe me.
Chris, you've converted us all now.
You're not the only one. And I do think it's the kind of thing where, just we're going to push the price out of the way for a second because believe me, if we were talking about an Arch or we were talking about, like you said, a Confederate,
60, 80,
Curtis,
$60,000, $80,000, $90,000.
Oh yeah, no.
A brand new HarleyDavidson CVO Ultra is at $60,000.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Okay. That's right now. That's not a bike that they built just for you.
Yeah.
That's not the one they hired Jesse James and Arlen Ness to team up on and build for us on the Celebrity. That's the bike, no options, the way it comes out of the factory. Well, no options. It's all the options. But it is a $60,000 platform.
That's why the boom in trailer parks happened. These dudes are buying bikes and they can't afford houses anymore.
It could very well be.
Yeah, man.
I mean,
because dude, go to Ohio Bike Week.
Yeah.
And there's less teeth, and there's still CVOs and EVOs and every fucking $50,000 Harley you
all the
ever
little
seen.
baby VOs. Yep. Yeah, it's
There's
true.
something to be said for rednecks with paychecks kind of thing, you know.
It is. And they will make.
Might
they will
not
make
have any
decisions.
teeth, but he's
Dave's
got a
got a
good
pulse.
roofing job and he makes good money, you know.
Hey, look.
I'm not dogging the
I've
job.
seen a lot of
man.
Section 8 houses with $90,000 car in front of it.
Yeah, but Grandma really wanted a Mercedes.
Yep. Now, back to the Garage Brewed Motorcycle Show.
Oh, yeah.
The Garage Brewed Motorcycle Show. I think this is something I want to spend a little bit of time on. The reason I want to bring this up, the reason I want to talk about it, is these are our friends down in Cincinnati.
I'm going.
Rheingeist Brewery. This is Kurt Edwards and all of his posse. This is a good group of people. I find zero complaint. I find no reason that you shouldn't go to this thing and just have a damn good time.
Plus, Hostek's probably got some insider information because he worked at the place.
You know he's thick on the walls there. You can't walk through that place without getting his DNA on you.
I know.
Right? That's a fact. Yeesh. That is... I think it's going to be a blast.
That's the one that Greg got his mini bike picked for too, right?
Yep, Greg Castillo's mini bike will be there.
Yeah,
Some
we'll
of
be
our friends'
there.
motorcycles will be there.
Yep.
I'm excited. I want to go down and check it out. For us, it's not that bad. It's about a 4-hour drive tops.
Yeah.
And then we can hop over to Costco and get liquor that we can't get here.
For the people that want to literally go across the bridge into Kentucky and do liquor shopping, you can go across the bridge into Kentucky and do some liquor shopping. Nothing wrong with that if you're so inclined. There's also a lot of cool shit to do in Cincinnati, and it's a great way to have a little one-day trip. Go down. The show's on Saturday, February 3rd, and then Sunday you can just go fuck around or whatever. You know, I'm sure there's lots of fun stuff to do in Cincinnati. I won't be going to the zoo. I'll probably be going somewhere else, right? But I will make a brief pilgrimage to go down there and check it out because I'm excited. It's always a great event. The space is massive. The guys do a beautiful job artistically putting the bikes on display because they're cool. I mean, the people that run it put their heart and soul into the damn thing. And I've not seen it be bad ever, but it's just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger every damn year. It's a lot like the Portland show, the Portland 1 show that John and I went to. It has a similar vibe, but just not as massive. What the hell? Is somebody dropping wolf bait over there again? Fucking hell, man. Jesus Christ.
So is this somehow, is it kind of like Fuel Cleveland?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So I think one of the best ways to put it about in comparison to Fuel Cleveland is Fuel Cleveland can be big. Fuel Cleveland can also be like, this is our area for everybody. Mm-hmm. And Fuel Cleveland tends to be in the summertime. Whereas this is more by invitation, and your bike will be voted. Your bike will be judged. So winning or getting an award at this thing is a big deal. And, you know, it's the time of the year, too. I don't know that we're going to see 250 bikes in the parking lot.
Yeah, right.
Right? Just based on the weather, right? But at Fuel Cleveland, the show, inside the show is the show, but then the show in the parking lot is also the show. And... But I'm sure there'll be some assholes out in the parking lot burning tires off and all kinds of good stuff, too. So we like those assholes.
Cincinnati tends
Those
to
are our
be
people.
15 to 20 degrees warmer
It
sometimes
does.
than us, so
Absolutely.
you might be able to get away with it.
Hey, today we were at 42 degrees, and on Monday we're going to be 12, right? So
Well,
that's just part of what
Single
we do.
digits at night.
Is that the deal?
Yeah, it drops about 20 from the time you
Hey,
got
buddy.
here.
It's Ohio. We all know how it works. If you don't like it,
Not yet.
there's other places.
I'll find out.
Yep.
You're going to get a good taste in the next week.
If you don't like it, there's other places you can live.
Ice racing. Ice
Yeah.
racing.
I mean, so I want there.
Crap, not going to get Phil's bike running again.
I want the change to be more sudden and violent. I want it to be Halloween. Halloween is over.
Snow.
Snow.
Yeah, I agree.
I just want the snow. I don't want the cold.
Right. Give me 25 degrees with snow.
Yeah.
25 to 32 degrees. I can ski. I can race my motorcycle on the ice. I can do all that cool winter shit.
Yeah.
But this dicking around yo-yo crap is for nobody.
I was promised snow.
Yeah. It's
Oh, you're going to get it. I drove through it on the way here.
Yeah. The problem is
We're supposed to go to Conneaut. It's like 8 to 12 inches is what they're expecting tomorrow.
That's what Peggy said.
Oh, nowhere near that.
Oh, Dr. Waters is extremely excited about, like, we've already booked. We go skiing, and we've already booked some time. But we used to book. I mean, global warming, right? We used to book in December.
Oh, yeah.
And rock it. Forget it. Not even upstate New York.
Well, even Denver.
Yeah,
my friend that lives in Denver, they just opened the big peak or like their big number 6 or whatever this week, which is like that's 2.5 months behind usually.
I checked.
Skiing's bad in a lot of places.
I went to the Peak and Peak website, and they're like, Peak and Peak, now open. And I go and check how many runs. 4 runs.
Yeah, I was going to say the absolute
lifts
minimum
running.
number of runs. Nobody in our part of the world makes as much snow as Holiday Valley does. They God love these guys in New York. They build their own lifts from the ground up, and they make their own snow. And nobody makes more snow than that place. And they've been like out of 20-some runs, they've been like 16 runs open for a while. But I don't like skiing on corn.
Piper and I are going February 11th.
There you go.
Ski club trip.
Yeah, it's going to be great for you. It's going to be fantastic.
I'd take a mountain bike just in case.
Just in case, just to be sure. Are you going to Holiday Valley or Peak and Peak?
Holiday Valley.
Yeah, it's pretty rad.
I always
like it
like
there.
7 Springs.
I want to hit
too.
Peak and Peak
That
because
one's always good.
like if I go up to the house at Conneaut,
Yeah.
Peak and Peak's like an hour from
It's an
there,
hour
so
away.
Oh,
we
really?
could- We could go ski and then come back to the house.
They're so sneaky at Peak and Peak. They have a billboard on the freeway that says if you went to Peak and Peak, you'd be there by now. Because you're on your way to Holiday Valley, you have to drive past the Peak and Peak sign, which is get off at this exit to go to Peak and Peak. And they're rubbing it in that, you want to go to visit the guys in New York? Cool, it'll be another hour and a half, right? Enjoy that extra hour and a half with crabby kids.
It's so expensive to go skiing. I really can't justify going to Brandywine because for the money, I mean,
$30 more, go to New York.
I mean, I'll drive to. I mean, it might be 2 hours, but it's just worth taking that. So much better skiing.
Yeah.
If you're going to spend hundreds of dollars, and
Yeah, it's the ClevelandMoto Ski Report. Yeah, happy to have you.
Like when you're on the lift, like 8 times as long as the run takes, it's probably not the best place you want to go.
correct.
I will tell you that as a guy who's been skiing since I could walk upright, that a high-speed quad or a high-speed 6-pack chair, when it's going so fast, they have to slow it down for you to get on. Mm-hmm. But when you're boogieing and you look down at the train and you're like, we are moving. And then I go out west and the lifts have aerodynamic bubbles that go over your fucking torso because wind chill at those elevations is serious.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to be on that lift for maybe 15, 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
It's a real deal.
You're going 1.5 miles up the hill,
Woof.
basically.
Yeah. I've been on ones where I had to go from one ski lift to a gondola to another ski lift.
Yeah.
And then you're like, that adds up. And then some of those ones in Europe, you're paying per trip.
Yep.
Yeah. So
I remember
it's expensive.
I was on the Akron U ski team and we went to Whiteface Mountain for a thing. And there's nothing scarier than like you're on a lift to the peak. And as you're on it, they close the peak. So like you're the last people
What?
because it's too windy, it's too fucked up, but you're already halfway up there. So now you got to ski down and
you
like,
have no option now.
Yeah.
This is what you're doing.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, that's fun. That's
They're
cool.
like, it's closed for everybody else, but you guys, you're gonna be
You'll
be
fine,
just
I
fine.
promise
Yeah.
you. Yeah, I promise you. I've been to places where when they groom it, they need winches to pull the snowcat up. Yeah. And you're like, that's impressive.
Yeah.
That's impressive. I'm going to go down that later when I'm drunk.
There's a little place in Pennsylvania called Blue Knob.
Yeah, we know Blue Knob.
And there's not many runs or whatever, but the 2 are double black diamonds.
Double black diamonds.
And there's 2 chutes that just cross over. One is moguls the whole way down, and the other one is just like a funnel. And if you fall down, you and everything is going to the bottom one
It's
way
a
or
yard
another.
sale.
Totally yard sale.
Like,
That's
it's
all
like,
it is.
One's an ice chute and one's moguls. Which way do you want to die?
For us in the wintertime, we start like, okay, we're either going to work on bikes. Our service department has turned into this bizarre archaeological dig. Tom's coming out of there at least twice a day. Tom's coming out with a piece going,
Oh, yeah.
Phil, do you know what this is?
Yeah.
I do know what that is, Tom. Do you know how long it's been since they made one? Well, Tom, if I told you, that would admit that I'm old. Tom, I can tell you when I bought it.
Yep.
And Tom's posting pictures on the internet of inventory I own from companies that don't exist anymore.
Yeah, that ScoMo picture was really funny.
Shit that doesn't exist.
I think I think about 5 years after I moved to New Orleans, ScoMo dissolved.
I'm going to tell you something about me as a business owner. I'm not afraid to order parts.
Oh yeah,
I have never been afraid. Tom gives me a parts order and he's like, I need 2 Triumph carburetor rebuild kits. Fuck you, you're getting 6.
Yep.
We don't order 2 of anything.
Well, the good thing is that you have 3 T100s in the shop, all of which need carb rebuild kits.
Absolutely.
And then I have mine in the garage. It's going to need a rebuild kit anyway, so you might as well go ahead. You're right.
It's a T100 assembly line now at the shop.
Oh,
That's fine. We're our ambassador, our Moto Guzzi
projects
ambassadors are turning into Moto Guzzi Eldorados from their hanging around too long.
No kidding. That is
apparently a
weirdness.
motorcycle hung around in my shop so long it gained 100 cc's and an extra gear. How the fuck does that happen? I know I bought an ambassador. And Tom comes out and says, I think it's an Eldorado.
Well, it's got a 73 date stamp on it, and it's got a 74
The
listing.
red thing? The
red thing. Yeah, the thing that looks like it was painted by a 9-year-old.
And it doesn't have the crisscross transmission.
Again?
So weird.
My shop is not a normal place of business. Not by a long shot. Not even close.
I'm picking and pulling frames. I'm just
It's weird. It's just so weird. Yeah. We are going to be looking for a shop monkey though. Tom needs his very own shop monkey.
Yeah.
So if you've got an 18 to 25-year-old person in your life
or a
that needs
Capuchkin, I would take a Capuchkin.
Take a Capuchkin. But I think if you've got an 18 to 25-year-old person in your life who's mechanically inclined and wants to make, and we pay fair. We do pay fair. And but if they want to be around motorcycles and scooters and shit, and they want to like really understand
and learn all the good curse words.
Yep.
What about like an older British man, like an Alfred? You could use an Alfred in the shop.
Okay.
If they make
John?
it, that'd make good tea.
Hey, John.
Tom, what do you think if I move this over here for you? I'm going to just spruce up the shop a bit.
He's an expert in like
no problem, Tom.
like bathtub
I'd like
triumphs.
to get that for you.
His last job was taking care of the Zulus. But we had a fella come in before Tom showed up. And he's a British.
Before you know it, he's carved out a bat cave underneath it just for you. You're like,
that'd be great.
Thank you, Alfred.
And he's a secret, like, the Queen's Guard.
SAS. Or
SAS fight.
Yeah, SAS service. Yeah.
This fella came into the shop, and he's saying, this guy was in his mid-60s. And he said, I'm a certified Aprilia mechanic. I'm a certified Moto Guzzi mechanic. I'm a certified Ducati mechanic. And I've worked at a Vespa shop. And, came over here to the States, and my wife's got the good job, and I'm basically looking for something to do. And I'd like to come in and, maybe turn wrenches for you. And I was like, oh. And I thought, well, I don't ever like to lead people down a primrose path, right? Just fucking get it out of the way. Rip the Band-Aid off real fast. So I walked him back to the service department. That fucker lasted about 3 seconds. He took about a 180-degree turn in my shop back there, and he was like, sorry, I was mistaken. Yeah. That man worked in a shop that was clean, a shop that he probably made clean, right? He worked in a shop where things were probably in their place, because I've been in a few British motorcycle shops. They don't have 11,000 fucking square feet to stretch their legs. They don't have 8 lifts and, triple of every goddamn tool. They got one, and every morning they got to push 36 bikes outside so they can get to the cash register. And every night they got to push 36 bikes inside so they can lock the doors. Space is a commodity. Well, in Cleveland, space is cheap. We can afford to use lifts as workbenches or storage shelves or whatever the fuck we got going on. But when this guy came back and he saw the state of my shop, he just realized he was in over his head.
But wasn't that like just right after so-and-so left and before he got there? Right?
That's the point.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but now
it's not any better.
It's different.
Yeah.
There are more bikes on lifts.
It's different. It's different. Yeah.
But it is still a
went from
mess.
having 1 lift and 8 shelves to having 7 lifts and
Let me ask you, was the Japanese hearse sitting in there at the time?
It might have been. No, it was out at the moment. Yeah.
That might have been a little bit off-putting for somebody.
For a little while, the hearse did live in the service department. But no, at the time, it was pretty straight ahead. But he was a funny guy because he came in and he knew every bike we work on.
Yeah.
He's the only guy that walked into my shop, looked up and went, "Oh, a Heinkel."
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody's ever fucking done that. Like Tom Bagel Donahue did that.
I mean,
you don't count.
That's what everybody says. I don't count.
The pervert can recognize the fucking pervert. That's it. That's not surprising.
And,
yeah.
and Bagel recognized. Of course, Bagel recognized it.
He taught me about him.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. He introduced me to Heinkels. So, but it was just a funny thing to see that instant look of shock in his face about realizing, like, I think I'm going to go and then get a job. He probably told his wife, I'm going to go and then get a job. And she probably said, oh, you go do that. And then he came back and said, things are different here. And I just like, all right. And I don't feel like it was the one that got away because he never would have been happy.
Well,
did you explain that like all the Vespa parts and stuff aren't customer stuff? They're just your collection. Like maybe he thought those were all just jobs.
Oh, those are jobs waiting to happen. That the 47 Vespa frames were literally work to be done.
Yeah.
Tom got here first day. Tom's like, oh, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to do that. And I was like, November, December, January, February.
Yep.
You're working on paying jobs now.
Yep.
Yeah.
My shit don't pay.
Yep.
Yeah. You were going to save that until like,
right.
Right now, actually.
Until right now, actually, honestly, that's it. Yeah, we actually had a real job come in today. A Moto Guzzi came in for tires and stuff, And it's a modern Moto Guzzi, a V9, like the whole deal. And he's one of our friends. He's Kurt Cousineau's brother, and it's cool. And it was like the strangest thing to have real work coming in
customers
in January.
Yeah, right.
And he wrote in.
He did.
Wow. He's a legit.
Yeah.
He's a legit guy. He's
well, he picked the day because if it was any time after 5 today, he would have been fucked.
Oh, when I told him he's going to come and pick his bike up tomorrow, he said, "The fuck I am. I'll see you in March."
Yeah.
He said, "This job includes winter storage." I said, "You will be billed accordingly."
Oh, cool.
No, he's a sweetheart. Yeah, the guy's a great guy.
Yeah, no, it's because I came out and I was like, I got this motor just about built out of all the spare parts I found. Because I literally got tired of kicking that motor across the floor, so I rebuilt it.
There are few people that are qualified to walk in. If I were to die, there are few people that are qualified to walk in there and actually put a tag on everything. Right? There might be 7 or 8 in America that could walk in there and go, that's a that. And that's the problem. And I may have said it before. It's way easier to buy shit than to sell shit.
Yep.
It is almost fucking...
You're the talking easiest to a table of people that have that
we're all
Yeah.
nerds.
Right.
Well, there's been I don't know if you've seen it today or not. There's a couple of pictures for a sales going on that was like Vespa of Savannah closed down like 10 years ago, and there's this whole thing. And like all the nerds
I love how they're
that's
like,
not worth $45,000.
That was a Vespa shop that went out of business. A shop that we know about ages ago. But all the shit that was in that shop came out of one other guy's garage.
Yeah.
So the guy that was running Vespa Savannah was like, ooh, I found it in a giant parts stash of, all this cool shit, and I bought it all. So the guy that he bought it from is still in the community, and we're all friends with him. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's all my old shit.
Yep.
He's like, oh, it just moves. That's it.
And everybody's like, oh, it's not worth $45,000. I'm sitting there pricing all the stuff out. Like, it comes to about 20 to 35.
If these vintage motorcycles were herpes, we would have developed the super mega strain of herpes by now because we've actually given it back and forth to each other several times. They're old motorcycles. When we go to AMA Vintage Days and shows like that, John and I can visit motorcycles we used to own.
Yeah, that's funny.
The guy rolls past our booth and he's like, hey, man, anybody interested? And I was like, no, I wasn't interested when I sold it 3 years ago. Right? And look at you. You found it. Yeah. That's great. So it is a funny, weird, incestuous thing we got going on. It's fun. We like it. A little bit of news because we did promise it's a motorcycle podcast.
Yep.
Harley-Davidson has introduced a very strange recall. It doesn't seem right to me, but I'll read it just for the fuck of it because we like recalls around here. We believe that motorcycles should at least, if we can't be safe, the motorcycle should be, right? If I'm going to be a fuck nugget, at least give me a chance. Like, don't blame the motorcycle for the failure of the death involved. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA if you're nasty, 2023 FLHXSE, and the rule with Harley-Davidsons is the more letters, the more money. That means CVO Street Glide. So that means a street glide for people with too much money. It's susceptible to instability at speeds over 100 miles per hour. Now, I know a lot of other motorcycle companies might say, shouldn't have been going that fast anyway. You were obviously an illegal use of the product, right? Because people will only warranty things for the legal use of their product. If you're trying to put a 300 blackout round into your 5.56 rifle and she blew up, there's no warranty expressed or implied because you put the wrong bullet in it, dumbass. In this case, Harley-Davidson, there is a recall. This is due to an extremely sensitive engine control module, or in Harley's words, on certain model year 2023 Street Glide CVOs, the overall combination of front end mass, stiffness, and inertia does not enable the desired vehicle performance at speeds greater than 100. Oh.
You know, every single one of these jokes writes itself,
It
so
does.
I'm just going to let it go.
Right. We couldn't get it stiff enough, and she don't go that fast, right? I like it. It's in Harley's words. The fact that anybody goes to the trouble of saying in Harley's words that's them just defending themselves, man. That's all it is.
Look, we tuned the suspension for a 300-pound guy to max it out at 75 with an... Oh, that's not the one you were looking at there.
Scroll back up to that picture of the CVO.
Yes, sir.
So that's their 2023. They spent all that money.
Oh, no.
And they did all that just to make a 1980 fucking BMW
R100 RT.
Look at
I'll say
part.
the front end does resemble that remark. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is
not the whole fairing,
it's
but
more
at least
of
like
that's kind of a bat wing though. It's
Yeah.
more of a bat wing because that's a bit more spread out.
I'm talking more of the light though. Like if
Yeah.
you looked at that light,
Yeah, I get it.
no, it's there. It's
We don't ever try to. We're never going to pretend to be a Harley Davidson podcast.
No.
That's not what we do. That's not what we give a shit about. The point is, hurrah for Harley Davidson! You got a bike that goes 100 miles an hour. Good on you.
Yep. Yeah.
Good job, Harley Davidson.
I was gonna say,
Fantastic.
it affects about none of them.
it only took him 100
And
years.
honestly, unlike the Dyna, it doesn't decide to go backwards at 80 miles an hour. So that's cool too. Well done. Well done. You win.
Again, as much shit as we give it.
Well, hey, so speaking of Harleys, last weekend, me and Dan went to the Packard Museum.
You did.
And they
Tell us
had
all about that.
26 Harley Davidsons, all different kinds. I mean,
Because it's the 120th anniversary?
yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, calling all of them museum quality bikes was questionable. Like there was a lot of cool ones.
Hey, riders, runners.
Yeah, things like
Doers,
that. But
right.
the 1905 Harley, that was pretty cool to see that thing in person and know that it runs. And like it has a mailbox for a gas tank. Like it literally opens from the top and stuff. And I mean, like the fender stay had about 2 millimeters or I mean, back then, what did they call it? Like 2 shekels worth of like space between it and the belt. I mean, it was neat. The whole thing was kind of neat. And there was cars and like the whole museum it's a little gem. Like for $10, it's unbelievably how cool it was.
Yeah, it's actually very, very dense with displays.
Right.
Yeah. And well done stuff. And it's not so closed off where you don't feel like you're actually looking at stuff. Like
I've had a bike in the Packard before. They were looking for something that I had, and we popped it in there. It's a cool museum.
Yeah.
It's a really, really neat museum. You get a chance to check that out. If you're traveling,
Only $10 to get in.
it doesn't matter what they charge. Yeah. The fact if they would have charged me $20, I still would have done it. And if they would have charged me $2 and there was a donation jar, I would have given them $20 anyway.
Right.
Because they're doing the Lord's work. And
I mean, it's amazing to see like that the one Packard they have in there. What was that red one? It was like a 1903 or something like that, or 19. But like the chain was the width of my hand.
Yeah.
Each link was cotter pinned in.
you mean the chain drive?
The chain drive
The fact that
of the car.
in our day,
Yeah.
we had trucks and cars that drove on chains. You know,
the size of my hand, and the flywheel was like I don't know, probably 300 pounds or more.
when you have 13 horsepower,
Yep.
you need a 300-pound flywheel
Right.
to move a 3,000-pound car.
Yeah.
So for those
Pretty
of you,
cool.
It was really
those
cool.
of you listening that are under, we'll say 35-ish, Packard was a car.
Oh, no, we're going to make them Google that shit.
Okay.
No, they got to Google that shit. That is not my job to
I
tell you
didn't
what a
realize.
Packard is.
For some reason, I didn't realize how long Packard was around.
Oh, yeah.
Like to me, I always thought Packard was like a
Well, they-
40s, 50s
they
car, but I had no
lasted-
idea they were like from the O's.
But they lasted.
You know what I mean? Like
From the O's.
They lasted until what the AMC started conglomerate buyout thing. Like it all got swooped up into AMC.
It's funny, though, when you go back and you look at all that stuff. One of our customers, the Henry Ford Museum, has spun out, Ford Motor Company has spun out now in archives. And in their archives, they have all these electric vehicles. And many of the electric vehicles are not Fords. They're from companies like Baker here in Cleveland.
Yep.
And Baker built a lot of cars. And it's very funny when everybody's very excited talking about electric vehicles. Well, electric vehicles were not rare in 1905 or 1919.
They had a 100-mile range back then.
They did. Yeah, they did. Now, hold on, that's at 21 miles per hour.
Yeah.
But still, that's what you needed to move around town.
In New Orleans style roads, that's fair.
A lot of places in 1918 didn't have roads.
And neither does New Orleans.
Right. Yeah. My grandfather.
You weren't walking.
Right.
Damn straight.
Well, that was the whole point. It was, a nice, reliable little transportation.
If I could for 1 second go back to the Street Glide, I had to actually look at this to make sure I wasn't wrong. The Street Glide does, in fact, have a handlebar mounted batwing fairing. And that's asking a lot for a bagger at 100 miles an hour.
That's never a good thing.
That's right, John.
Well, what was...
Yeah, that is exactly right, John.
I do want my aerodynamics to change at 100 miles an hour.
Well, I want all my aerodynamics to be transferred into my steering device.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So every little buffeting or anything like that is going to... Yeah.
And this is something, for people that don't ride big, heavy bikes, keep in mind, the more shit you put on the back of your KLR 650 or your Africa Twin, the twitchier the front end gets.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you already have a pile of stuff on the back of your motorcycle, and you then put a sail or a rudder on the front of it with a big old windshield on it and the whole deal, airflow's a bitch. And the front end is going to try to correct. So a gyroscope will always try to correct itself. So when you get all those wind forces on the front of that thing and no dampening, you're going to have a problem, man. So don't go 100, don't go 101. Just keep it to 99. You might be okay. Fair enough. That's about the best I can hope for there. AIM Expo. Do you know what AIM Expo stands for? Anyone?
No.
The acronym? AIM?
Automotive Industry Meeting.
I don't know either. Okay? And the reason...
New Chinese bikes for this year?
No? Are you kidding me? No, it's going to be 100% Chinese bikes for this year.
Know.
It's not going to be no Chinese bikes.
No,
it's
I said
going to be
new.
New. It's going to be all the
new Chinese bikes.
It's going to be everything. There's going to be a Chinese bike. There's going to be a Chinese bicycle. There's going to be a stand-up snowboard, gasoline-powered chainsaw.
There's going to be all the legitimate brands in one area, and there's going to be all the, we can give you a container of those for your pawn shop.
It's a bonkers thing. But here's what I do want to explain. AIM Expo, despite its hype, the AIM Expo used to be the Indianapolis Dealer Expo. And some of us in this room have been to the Indianapolis Dealer Expo, which was a 19-ring circus that took up all the buildings in Indianapolis for like 1,800 booths. And you had 3 days, you might cover it all. And there were about 150 different kinds of seminars happening. You could walk in there day one, I'm a motorcycle shop owner. After 3 days and 15 seminars later, you've been rubbing elbows with the best and the brightest. And you know some shit. Go ahead.
America's International Motorcycle Expo.
Bingo! America's International Motorcycle Expo.
There you go.
Power sports trade show. It used to be a dick measuring contest between Dealer News magazine and motorcycle.
And all of the countries will be represented. China,
right?
And China.
This year they're bragging about their 16 different brands. Well, of course, KTM is 4 of them. Moto Guzzi, Aprilia, Piaggio, Vespa is 4 of them. So if you take away the multiple brands, I think there's actually 5 different brands that are truly independent in booths there. Last year, I went to this thing in Vegas. Interesting things about it. Well, it's at the Las Vegas Convention Center. It happened to be there at the same time as like a video gaming cosplay convention, which was kind of cute. They have the Tesla underground tunnels happening, so you could get into a Tesla car that would not self-drive itself from your hotel over to the convention center.
But that caught on fire.
Pilot in there. I didn't see any on fire. They were all fine when I rode them. However, they would just make loops all day long. So it's fun. But the whole event, the entire thing, if you're slow, and I mean moving slow, not intelligent.
No, I guess.
You can do it in about 3.5 hours.
I was taking that personally.
Yeah. It's the Cleveland International Motorcycle Show, the IX show that we've all done, is about 3 times as big as this.
Well, yeah, remember when we went to the AIM when it was in Columbus?
Right.
And we got through it in 2 hours and we were partying.
The Vegas one is 1/3 of the size of the Columbus one.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
The Columbus one was 2 separate rooms.
and
So what are you going to do for a whole week out there?
weekend?
See, they're called casinos.
It's
And-
called training, marketing, and spending down your co-op money or your marketing money. You send a couple of members of your staff out to this sumbitch. You put them up in the Aria Hotel or whatever the hell the hotel du jour is for, a couple $100 a night. You got to feed them. And they go out and they look at the new bikes and they take pictures and they put them on their social media, like I did last year. You interview some people, like I did last year. And if you're lucky enough, your friends from the Motorcycles and Misfits are out there and you hang around and get drunk and go to fun things and do stuff. Now, they're not going to be there this year.
They learned their lesson, huh?
So I'm not going to be there this year. Honestly, I can only chase my own tail so long. So we're gonna.
But Phil,
I'm gonna go to
so
the
what-
Rheingeist. I'm gonna go to the Rheingeist Brewing Company
Excellent.
instead.
So yeah,
it's
because like last year when you came back, what did you know? What did you feel like there was any information that you gathered there that you didn't already know before you left?
no.
Right.
I mean, news,
But here's- I know what
news
I'll say-
going to be there.
What I will say is, I did learn about Benelli and Keyway, spinning off of SSR. I learned about QJ, so I did learn about some stuff. But I could have learned about that in an email.
Right.
I didn't have to go to Vegas to
Yeah,
learn it.
and save a couple bucks.
Exactly.
Boom's going to be there, so you can see the Vader.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, you can go see a Boom Vader.
Boom
right?
Vader,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's going to be all kinds of Vogue was there, and they had 18 versions of the same, basically 200 to 300 cc Chinese sport bike. Right. There's a lot of that.
Oh, there's Bashan.
Yep. So there's a lot of that stuff.
CFMOTO's got a huge booth.
CFMOTO does have a huge booth. Last year they had a huge booth.
Their booth is as big as, actually, I think they're bigger than Triumph.
What's funny is the 4th or 5th hour after they open, on whatever opening day is, this year it's Tuesday, February 6th.
Jesus Christ.
Right? After their opening day, Tuesday, the next day when you come in, everyone has that look on their face like, well, they told me to come. Mm-hmm. I said, well, you were here yesterday, right? Yeah, I was here yesterday. So why the fuck are you back today, man? Go Vegas. Go do Vegas. Go do Vegas-y shit. There's no reason, once you've been through it and you've seen your reps, basically, for dealers, this is an opportunity to touch base with the guy that you buy a bunch of shit from and go, hey, that's right, cool. And if you're lucky, they might throw a little sign up that's like, oh, free beer for the next half hour. Or, free pizza slices for the next 25 minutes over at the Chengshin booth or something.
Yeah.
That's what they do. It used to be legit. It used to be like, I went to one where Kid Rock was there. Mm-hmm. I went to one where Tucker Rocky straight up had built a stage and fucking Kid Rock was there for the Thursday night meet and greet. Mm-hmm. And it was all you could damn well drink. Mm-hmm. And we did.
Oh yeah, no, the 2000s.
I mean, Kid Rock was there. I'd probably not stop drinking.
The 2000s were those shows were legendary.
Trade shows were crazy
and
shit.
then afterwards, all the guys that I was with would take over downtown, and then there'd be a whole stunt show for 5 hours. And yeah.
Oh my god. And there wasn't a strip club within 15 miles that wasn't infiltrated by the idiots from the motorcycle show.
Oh, yeah.
And many of the booths decided it would be fun to go hire the strippers to work as booth girls. So I'm not going to say who did this, but their name rhymes with Farts Unlimited. I went in there one time.
It's right over here to my right.
They had a 2-story booth that they built inside a building. They built a 2-story building inside a building.
Yeah.
With full DJ booths and the whole thing. And ladies that I could best be described as flexible in every possible way working in that booth. They didn't know much about motorcycles.
They could have been yoga masters, man. They might have not been.
But they
strippers.
didn't know much about motorcycles.
No, of course not.
I asked them about my margin. I asked them about my buybacks. They were useless to me.
Did you see? There's a meme going around, or like a little video, and it's like when the girl that's supposed to attract people goes wrong, and she's
Your booth babe?
Yeah, and she's showing off a Firebird, and she's like, "Oh, look, it has 4.6 of those, and it has a turbolator, and here, and it's like the intake." And she goes, "When you see here, you can see how much turbo you're getting from this." And she's doing this to a national news.
And by the way, they just told her when she got the job, they said, "Don't say a word."
Yeah, right. It was
Don't
fucking amazing.
say a word. If somebody says something to you, put fingers on your lips and giggle. That's what you do.
I don't know if I ever got that job. I'd learn the turbo encabulator performance and just do the entire thing.
that whole thing.
So bad. What I will say about these events is it's really a good idea if you have the opportunity to
Drugs
attend
before you go.
Well, yeah, of course. Drugs, obviously.
Lots of drugs.
Usually, when in the old days, they would have 3 days of seminars, and all the seminars would be different, and you'd have to split up your crew. So I'd send Sleepy to this seminar, John to that seminar, and Chris to that seminar. We'd all take notes, and at the end of the day, we'd meet back at the hotel room and share our notes so we could kind of have the experience, the whole deal. And now that's pretty, it's like the same 3 seminars all 3 days, right? But it is very funny when you can tell the state of the industry by reading what the seminars are about. You don't need to go to the seminar. You just need to listen to what they're calling the seminar. So I'm going to tell you that navigating the future of thrills, chills, and economic spills.
Oh boy.
What does that tell you? That's by the Motorcycle Industry Council, by the way.
Yeah.
That's not Slappy's House of Ugly Scooters. That's the fucking big boys. That's MIC. MIC is calling their seminar
KEY.
Thrills, Chills, and Potential Economic Spills. Fuck, that's scary.
Yeah.
That's not right. How to attract and retain talent.
Well, that might be legit.
Because we have a bit of a vacuum right now, guys. All right, that's it.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I think it's called money.
Do you know what always scares me?
No, that's not.
Do you know what scares me? When we go back to this old trope. Maximize every sale. The bike is just the start. F&I, PG&A.
Dude, they had at that museum we were just at, the the Packard Museum, in the back they had a Packard training film playing from the 1950s.
Oh, cool.
And the dude was literally like that. He's like, when a customer walks in, don't even let him ask about the options. Ask him if he's going to be ready to take one home today.
Wow.
You start the engagement.
Assume the sale.
Yeah, but it was in that 1950s, and you soon the safe. It was awesome.
Yeah, see.
Here in the Eastern Atlantic region, we
Seriously.
always talk a certain way.
But dude, they almost talked like a different language in those things. It was like, and then when he gets there, what you want to do is get him in and sit down real quick.
That was the professional trade language of the
Sales
day.
technique.
Apparently
That's how they knew that you were there. You
Yeah.
were clearly an experienced salesman.
Right, but it was really interesting to see that they even back then they were already analyzing and making it more of a psychological experience of fucking people over.
All I
at
can think
dealerships.
about is the Hudsucker proxy now. Thanks, guys.
That's what it is. And another symposium that they're having is protecting the business of your business. Put on by ABC Insurance Company brokers. All of these things are shills. Every single, in this particular instance, the Indie Dealer Expo, we knew the people doing the training. So I'd know, if you wanted to go talk to this guy, he'd give you good training. And almost no sales pitch, excellent training. When I see that the program is hosted by somebody who's literally there to sell you a particular product, don't go to that one. It's probably not going to be great.
So I'm looking at the floor map while you're talking about the seminars.
Yeah.
Moto Marini's booth. I'm not going to lie. Is twice the size of Indian motorcycles.
What?
Is twice the size of the Gas and Envy Agusta booth, which is a combined booth.
Yep.
Marini's booth is twice the size of.
They're
the standard
trying to
booths.
come hard.
Oh,
I think.
yeah. KTM Husqvarna is a split booth again, half the size.
Hold on, guys.
KTM Husqvarna, Gas, and Envy Agusta make up the size of the Marini booth.
Moto Marini has 3 fucking bikes. I'm not messing around. I'm not messing around.
That's why I'm looking at the map, trying to figure out what's there.
Are they going to debut new ones at the show?
Well, they should have debuted them on their fucking website for their dealers who they're trying to get to buy them.
Because
right?
Thumpstar and Charming together make up the KTM-sized booth, and then you get a little bit bigger.
But I'm not joking when I tell you Moto Marini is literally 3 bikes, and 2 of them are the same.
Yeah.
So the X-Cape is 1 bike. That's their adventure bike. And the CFMOTO SCR, which is the Cafe Racer or the Scrambler version, and the CFMOTO STR, which is the street version, they're all the same bike.
Wait, what you meant to say is that you got the Africa Twin, and then you got the TT85, and then you got the Kawasaki.
It is bigger. That booth is bigger and more in the middle of the floor than the CFMOTO booth.
But I'm confused as to why they need it when they
They have 3 colors of each bike, so they're going to have at least 9 bikes displayed.
when they have 3 bikes and 2 of them are barely distinguishable from each other.
Right.
But again, booth space there. Apparently, they have a lot of real estate that they need to fill up. So good.
They got to show all the colorways.
There's a lot on this floor.
Yamaha just announced a multi-million-dollar buy-in to CFMOTO. And apparently that news broke a little while ago talking about like, well, but it's only going to be for the Chinese market. Yeah, we've heard that before. All right. And today I got to speak to somebody who's extraordinarily well-read in the Chinese motorcycle manufacturing world. And he really did break it down for me in a lot of ways. Lan Sin, who does BMW, so your BMWs are made in India, your BMWs are made in Lan Sin, and some of your BMWs are made in Germany. The numbers get into different columns every year. Right, the numbers change columns every year. But Lan Sin is one of these brands. You've got Zenon, who's basically doing all the Piaggio products and Aprilia stuff, and the sexy Italian guys. And then you've got CFMOTO, who's now, KTM and now picking up some Yamaha. And they were Husqvarna, right? So they were CFMOTO was Husqvarna. It's getting very hard to tell the players, right? But the one thing is that about 3, maybe 4 Chinese companies have established themselves as being dominant in the field. Many of them, like Moto Morini, like SWM, like Benelli, which is QJ. Many of them are doing the thing where they still have their world headquarters in Italy. So it's Italian designed, Italian researched, Italian history, Italian headquarters, Chinese production.
What's the phrase I heard a long time, and I think it was a book called Airframe, but it was value added.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter where it's manufactured. No. It's where the company is based where the value added comes into play.
I've seen the word this particular week, getting ready for AIM.
Yeah.
I've seen this word, Italian designed, Chinese built.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they'll lead with Chinese built, Italian designed.
They've been doing that in the guitar industry forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
Right?
It'll be like America design.
I got to ask you about this because this is a good thing because I think maybe the guitar industry has experienced this before we did.
Oh, way, yeah. They've been doing it forever.
How long ago did that start?
In the 70s.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So there was stuff like, or sometimes so it was weird. So like in the 70s, there was a whole thing where there was a whole bunch of prolific Japanese like luthiers. And so they either got them to come over here and like design stuff with the American guys, or they would like the companies would put them out over there and whatever.
So what you're saying is whether it's motorcycles, cars, guitars, or whiskey, the Japanese will steal it and make it better.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
But where does China come in the guitar world?
Well, so I would say about 25 years ago, they started to just, you'd see like these cheaper guitars and they were instantly shit, And so at first it actually went to Mexico. So Fender started to do some stuff in Mexico. And so it would say like Fender Stratocaster, designed USA, made in Mexico.
And it was called the ay.
But so they were really dogged for a long time.
Yeah.
But then here's what happened. And this is interesting, and I bet you this is what's going to happen to the motorcycles. So take this now over 20, 25 years, right? America got lazy. So like a lot of the custom shops and stuff that were doing guitars, their quality wasn't there.
Yeah.
Or a lot of the high-end custom stuff's still there. But like the American-made Gibsons or the American-made Fenders where you were like, oh, man, you can feel the quality oozing compared to that piece of shit Mexican or piece of shit Chinese one, right? Well, as the economy started to grow over there, those guitars started to get pretty fucking good. Yeah. And now you're looking at them and like, if you go on YouTube right now, there's things like Lost Gem. People didn't look at this and this guitar actually for the year is better than the US, and so
really?
So now it's weird. So like certain years of Chinese guitars are actually, coming up in value.
Really?
Yeah, it's really weird.
Because I see that market. I do a lot of gun stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And so there are a lot of companies that when I was a young person in the 80s, we were buying guns and somebody was like, oh, you do know that gun was made in Japan, right? And you're like, yeah, I know, but shoot it. Go shoot it. That Nico is like not fucking around. That is one of the
That's-
best trap and ski guns I've ever shot.
I just scored a guitar.
Yeah.
I traded a guy. I did one of my things where like I bought low, fixed it up, and then
Yeah.
he wanted it. And then I've been looking for this guitar for 20 years, and out of nowhere he was like, I have this to trade. But the thing is he looked at like, if you go and look this guitar up, it'll sell for $300 or $400 because 99% of them have been beat the fuck.
Yes.
So if you can find one that's mint, it was made in 1980. It was by a company called Aria, and it's Matsumoto is the guy who had made it. He was a master luthier. Like people like basically what he did is they wanted to make their company and they wanted to make it a commercially available guitar for a reasonable price that could compete with the custom shop guitars in the U.S. But nobody really, people that knew, but it never really caught on. But now, 45 years later, if you can find one of these things, it has rotary switches with like filters in the electronics, so you can get like 30 tones out of the thing, but there's no cheesy, there's no onboard effects. It's just actually using the pickups and stuff to get all the tones. It's like a masterpiece of a guitar.
Wow.
So, and now that value, so back then they sold them for $300-400. The one that I got, which this guy didn't know because it's mint, is like I could get probably $1,400 to $1,600 for it at this point. So
Is that a Chinese made guitar?
this one's Japanese.
That one's Japanese.
But
Okay. All right.
this one. But I'm just saying, but it happens in other things. So like right now there's a thing going on with guitars where it's a flood of Chinese guitars, right? All over eBay, all over Reverb, and like they're unbranded or they'll have some weird name or something. And the reviewers that are supposed to, they're like, Chinese guitar, piece of shit, let's go. And then like halfway through the video, they're like, I can't really hate this thing. He's like, basically, if I bought a Gibson, I'd replace this, I'd redo this, I'd make it my guitar. Well, if I do that to this, it's actually not bad.
Okay.
And then, so Chinese stuff, there's a company called Donner from China.
Okay.
They are producing quality accessories, acromons, and instruments. So as like an all-in-one effects pedal that's an amp modeler with cabinet modelers and everything.
Yeah.
A lot of those are between $800, $2,000, $3,000 locally. They came out with one for $200. I can get paid $240, and it is insane. It is like it actually does things better than some of the $3,000 or $4,000 ones that I've played through.
That's pretty cool.
So like that market, I can see all that happening. Like it's already happening, but I can see that it's going to become like guitarists now don't even think about, it's China. Like as soon as one guy gets it, you kind of know whether or not it's a good thing, and then they just accept it. Like, that brand is cool. That brand's not cool.
We were joking about this when we were pre-gaming. For the people that watch the podcast or listen to the podcast, we're here for an hour before we turn the mics on. And we were talking about this, like, okay, we understand politically, ethically, emotionally, spiritually. We're like, man, we really don't want to support China that much. And I'm like, yeah, look at the fucking podcast table, though. Everything on this table is made in China, right? Everything on this table is Chinese made.
Except the beer.
Right, thank you.
This might be Japanese. No, task.
Hey, whatever, right?
Yeah, either way, whatever.
So
Close
but
enough.
The greatest likelihood,
Yeah.
right, that this podcast is brought to you by China.
Sure.
Right? The cameras, the whole deal.
Yep.
And that's where we are, man. That is it. It's been hard for me because I've watched that go from being, it was very easy, it was very binary, it was like China bad, everything else good. And at the shop, that made my life really easy. And then now it's had to be like, shit, that QJ is a badass bike. Look, I rode the piss out of that QJ, and if it had a fault, I'd tell you. But instead, I brought it over here and let you guys ride it.
Well, you know what's happening?
Yeah.
It's becoming brand specific to quality, not continent specific.
Now, that's a good
Right.
point. Now that actually makes a good point.
Well,
the fella I was talking to
yeah.
today was talking about a particular bike that shall remain nameless, but it rhymes with Fascal 125. This particular bike that we have tested here at our shop, we didn't particularly like it. He had looked at purchasing several thousand of those, but when he went and toured the manufacturing place, you could tell this is a person that spent a lot of time in China because he goes, it was probably to help you understand, it was probably a grade D factory. And when I said grade D factory, I was like, old tooling, bad tooling, stuff that was somebody else's property before. He goes, no, dirt floors.
Yep.
Wow.
Now, that's very hard for us in an OSHA environment to imagine dirt floors in modern manufacturing. But here's a place that's building motorcycles that you rode and I rode, and,
Well, dude, did you see I think I posted a couple weeks ago. They showed this dude in India, bare feet, like just in one of those like long white shirt things.
Yeah.
And he's got old tires, and he's got a fucking sharp like handle that's just like fucking sharp.
Yeah.
He's hitting it with the hammer, making pellets.
Yeah.
The next shot is those pellets getting shoved in this machine that grinds them up and then melts them. Then it comes down to this goo.
Yeah.
This other guy's cutting pipes. All these guys are like OSHA would die.
No,
like,
OSHA would die. Yeah.
So then they get done.
And so will the guys who are doing the work.
Eventually.
Correct.
Yeah.
But so anyways, you start going and you're going like, what the fuck are these guys building? And then they start to take shape and they're engine mounts.
Yep.
And then they're the engine mounts, and then they go into a Bosch or one of these other fucking. It wasn't Bosch.
yeah.
I don't want to say Bosch, but
Whatever.
Like, it was
It's
just, but it was a
fine.
brand.
It doesn't
Bosch.
matter. A branded box.
And I'm like, holy fuck! Like
Yeah.
this was a dude in a garage like, ripping apart tires, and now it like I never thought of that.
well,
You know,
that's
like,
recycling.
yeah, realistically, yeah,
Yeah.
right.
There's a few years ago, I ordered in a bunch of bearings and motor parts and stuff like that for a bunch of bikes we were building. And I ordered all these things in, and I'm fanatical about using Timken bearings because they're an Ohio company.
Yep.
So they're an Ohio company. I believe in that. And there was a bunch of stuff I was ordering, and our normal bearing house that we were working with didn't have any, so I had to order them outside. And I thought it was really weird because I'm used to handling Timken bearings. I'm used to the boxing, the packaging, the whole deal. And these were just a little weird, right? They're a little weird. And I thought, that's kind of an odd thing, right? Kind of just... I didn't know Timken had that kind of packaging because they're not far from here, and so,
there is something different about like Euro and especially Chinese and Japanese packaging. And it has you're right.
it's got a funk to it.
Yeah.
There was a weird smell, right?
Yeah.
And so I immediately took a picture of it and sent it off to my buddy, one of the guys that I buy from that's at the factory, right? And this guy looks at me and he goes, where the hell I want to know where you got this. And so I immediately, like, I'm not keeping any secrets. I bought it from this supplier, this vendor, this time. He goes, yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. It was a 100% fraudulent fake knockoff of a Timken bearing.
Oof.
And the problem, not among the other fucking problems, is it wasn't the right size. It wasn't the size that was on the packaging. That's for goddamn sure.
Yeah.
And the other thing was, you spin it, and you could hear things.
Hear it. Yep.
And that was a bad sign. Now, I know in the podcast land, you're probably like, yeah, but it's probably like a $5 bearing. This is a $39 bearing.
Oh, yeah.
This is a very expensive
Or
bearing.
how about just a head bearing? Do you want?
Yeah, but you just don't want to have to replace it, even if it, you know what I mean? Like,
Or what about failing on your head and
Well,
you
this-
fucking shakes at
Yeah.
100 miles an hour?
Oh, yeah.
You know, or-
What about the back ends of all those Chinese motorcycles
Yeah.
that we had turned to Velveeta after 6 fucking miles
Yeah.
or 60 miles?
The genuine Stella crank.
The genuine Stella crank is still a bone of contention for me because I also believe this is a situation where American tastes may have exceeded Indian
Exactly.
manufacturing.
Exactly.
I believe that in India, where this bike was built, where this bike has been R&D'd, because there's not a single part of this particular bike we're talking about that is Italian.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been Italian for 20 goddamn years. The tooling went to India.
Yep.
India said, we are making you in our image. They went from a 3-port motor to a 5-port motor, not to make it go faster, to give you an extra 20 miles per gallon.
Yep.
India turns the motor off at red lights.
Yep.
They kickstart it when the light goes green. They have a family of 5 riding the bike. They never exceed 35 miles an hour. The oil they put in their 2-stroke is somebody else's old car oil. It's sticky. It's gloopy. It's
Oh,
bad
it
oil.
works.
It's shitty oil.
But it works.
It's also the oil that in the original owner's manuals from the 50s and 60s and 70s for these Italian scooters and motorcycles said you use your old car oil at 5% or 4%.
Yep.
And you use old car oil with your gasoline, and that's where you get your lubricity. Motul 500 or whatever is synthetic, and it doesn't stick, right? Motul is designed for your CR250 and very high compression, very high temperature, very fast incident of arrival, combustion, departure. 2-stroke, folks, it's not hanging around very long. But in India, that oil is meant to be garbage. It's meant to be the last thing your oil does
what is the-
before it goes into giving you the world's dirtiest air.
The high ash content, I think, was
It's the best thing.
Yeah.
So we did a little test at our shop, and it was called the Unky Fills a Cheap Fucker test. Every single
Coastal 30 weight.
worse. every single one of my customers would come in and go, I got a new Stella. It's exciting. I'm going to take it out. It's like a Vespa, but cheaper. Cool, great. It's a 2-stroke. Yeah, it does wheelies. It's everything. It's everything you ever want in a scooter. Great. And I'm going to take it out and ride it at 65 miles an hour on the freeway. It's going to blow the fuck up. Right? And I'm going to put 93 octane gas in it because I want what's the best for my baby. Oh, yeah. I'm going to put full synthetic oil in the oil tank because I want what's the best for the baby. Cool. You do that. You know what I'm going to do? 87 octane, 99 cent a quart Wolf's Head. That's what I'm going to do. Do you know whose crank lasts? Oh, I don't know. 2002 was a long time ago. About 21 years ago. Who's still got the original crank in their bike? Oh, Unky Phil does. Why? I put 99 cent a quart Wolf's Head in it. I never put anything in it better than 87 octane. And I rode it like an Indian person. I shifted gears at about 3,200 RPMs. Yep. That's it.
When's the last time you started that red Cheetah?
When I bought it 3 years ago?
Yeah. I stuck a fresh battery in it.
Yeah.
Hit the button. Yeah. Guess what it did?
It did India. It did because it's India.
It'll go all day.
It'll go all day long, and it'll do anything you want, but it won't go 70.
Nope.
You go 70, parts are going to jump out of it.
Yep.
It's meant to do 30 with a family of 5 on it, on the world's worst gas, and somebody else's recycled oil.
Oh, yeah.
If you stick to those parameters, your Royal Enfield will last a long time.
Yeah.
If I see you going 80 on the freeway on your Royal Enfield, your head is about to escape.
Yes.
Right?
Even the new ones?
Oh, yeah. They're better built.
Ask Larry.
But
our podcast listener just said he got a free one.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, no, he
God.
didn't get a free one. He got a free transmission, and then he got a free motor, and then he got rid of the bike.
Oh.
Yeah.
It sucks, though, because it's such a pretty looking bike, man.
it's,
you know?
they have tried really hard to make that thing work.
Look.
And the problem is, you hit
Why
the
do
nail
you
on the
have to
head.
satisfy 2 markets? You have
Yeah.
to satisfy the Indian person.
Yes.
And you have to satisfy the American person. Okay, the Indian person is going to buy 237,000 of your bikes.
Yep.
The American person is going to buy 18 of them.
Yep.
Who do you build for?
Yeah, right. Well, I get it.
Fuck
Oh,
you,
yeah.
fuck you,
Oh, yeah.
America. You had your chance.
Yeah.
That's like the Chevy, the head of Chevy at Summit. He told us, he was in the build room, and he said, all right, this is where I let anybody ask any question they want. And, it's to my own fault. I have no fear, and I'm an idiot. So everybody's quiet. So I go, I got a question. He was like, what? I'm like, how come you guys can't build a pickup truck that doesn't rust in 3 years?
Right.
And his answer was, because I'm not building a truck for you and Michigan, the 2 dumb states in the whole country that put salt on their roads. And I was like, okay.
That makes sense.
Hey, here's an idea.
Yeah.
There's 50 fucking states and a whole planet full of people. Why are you using so much salt, Dick?
Right. He said it's not feasible for us to make a truck for you because your government is stupid.
Because if I build my trucks like UPS trucks that last through the salt, you're not going to be able to afford to buy them.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
A UPS truck will last 30 years. Don't look at the price tag.
Yeah, right.
Find me a Jeep with a frame.
Right.
Like any frame.
Whatever. Right. Yeah. Stellantis need not apply.
Right.
That's it's kind of an interesting thing when you look at it. It is a funny thing when you think about all those things. In the motorcycle world, when we do the silly shit that we do, we have to understand that usage scenarios, I got guys that are taking Benelli TNT 135s out and just bringing them back. Shit hammered is too nice of a term. But Sleepy's bike is fucking great and fine. Chris's bike is great and fine. My bike is great and fine.
And I fucked with mine. Like I did pipes, I took pipes off, I changed this, I did that.
But you're not trying to wheelie this thing into the back of an S10.
No, and also besides when me and Phil were just seeing how fast they would go, I try not to go 72.
No,
100%
we only
of
do
the
that
time.
on break-in.
Right. Yeah.
We just do that. We just do that to condition the motor. Yeah. We do that to season it.
Yeah. Well, it's heat cycles.
I believe it's better to determine the fitness of the vehicle during prep. That shortens the span. Mm-hmm. So you can contact the manufacturer and say, we have a problem here. Mm-hmm. And they don't think you're crazy because they know you just opened the box yesterday.
Yeah.
Right. So it must really be a problem. I didn't take this out and put 5,000 miles on it yesterday.
Well, that's always the thing about the first service is it's always at 600-ish miles because if it's going to break from the factory, it's going to break within that first
Tom brings up,
window.
I promise you this. I do not care whose name is on your vehicle. Service number 1, spend your fucking money.
Yeah.
Do not skip the first service. If you buy a brand new Fiat and the owner's manual says there's no first service, bring it in at 6,000 miles, take it in at 600 miles.
Yep.
Force them to change the oil.
Yep.
There is no such thing as a vehicle that does not require a first service. As
can-
long as metal parts are moving around in oil and fire, you have to do that.
I can tell you exactly how long a bike is going to last, or any vehicle, motorcycle, scooter, car, truck, airplane.
But don't.
That first service, depending on how much spare metal is on the magnet, if it has one, on the drain plug, determines how long that bike's going to last.
Do you know what Ducati's charging for service number 1 at 600 miles? Just down the street, Ray Hall, Ducati.
1,400.
No, that's the first one that has a valve adjustment.
Okay.
That's, yeah. No, first service, 600 miles. Congratulations. You've owned the bike for 600 miles. That's $1 per mile, $600. Thank you very much.
Yep.
That's service number 1.
Yeah, right.
Now, they may or may not find anything when they do it, but I promise you, if I owned a V4, if I did, I don't, but if I did, I would be there. I would be there. And do you know do you know why I wouldn't do the service myself? Because they're the people who are going to be hearing about me if the piston goes the wrong way or whatever. I need to make sure I have it in writing that I did my service at 600.
Right.
And that I've been the best owner ever, and I haven't hung any extra pipes on it or whatever.
Yep.
Because with a bike like that, I'm going to be careful until the warranty's over.
See, but check this out. So Amy bought that car, or
Yeah.
we bought the Hyundai Venue or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
And so I actually asked about that because they're like, your first service is at 3,500 miles. And I said, well, I just put an engine in my truck and I got to change it at 300 miles, 600 miles, 1,500 miles.
Yep.
Like, I got all these things I got to do.
Yep.
Like, what about her? And he was like, no. He goes, it's 3,500. He goes, it's pre-broken in.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
That's what he said.
No, it's not.
I didn't think so.
No,
either.
it's not. I promise you it's not.
I guarantee
They,
you're right.
they may say that, but unless they run on the track for 1,000 miles.
But my
and
thing
then
is,
break it in.
but here's the thing. This is what I told her not to worry about it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you're following what they're telling you.
Correct.
And that's their warranty. So, hey.
What I'm going to follow is what's in the book. If it says 3,500 miles and anything goes boom before 3,500 miles, that's
Right.
on them.
If I'm going to expect to have an enjoyment of the vehicle after the warranty
Yep.
is over,
Yep.
then I'm going to change the oil at 600.
Absolutely.
If I'm not going to be the guy owning the car,
Right.
then I might do what it says at 3,500.
So if you plan on keeping anything, change the oil at 600 miles.
It's a very small price to pay
I agree.
to change the oil at 600. And as a guy who looks at a lot of oil that comes out of vehicles at 600,
yeah.
I can tell you, I've never seen it clean.
Oh, yeah. No, I just did that
It
with my
comes
truck.
out looking disco.
Yeah.
I have it
Yeah.
on video, man. Yeah. You can see the swirl. It looks like you were mixing metallic paint.
Oh,
You
yeah.
don't want that in your car.
No,
You don't want that
it's
in your car.
the fewer amount, because everything at 600 miles is going to come out glitter.
Yep.
It's not going to be bad glitter, but it's going to be a little bit of glitter in there because nobody finishes their gears.
Well, I think you want to see those fine particles.
Oh, yeah.
That's what, that's
break-in.
that's your break-in.
Yeah,
That's the point of it, because
break-in.
fine. You can actually determine the quality of finishing on the gears on a vehicle by the amount of glitter in the oil when it comes out at 600 miles.
yeah, I agree with you on that.
Because a lot of like a lot of places don't. What is it when you dump it into sand and it polishes the gear a little bit before you output it again? Like a lot of places will do that, and then a lot of places
Every time
pass
I've
couple
put a
years.
piston in a cylinder
Yeah.
into a two-stroke, I have chamfered
Oh, yeah.
the fuck out of it.
Oh yeah.
Right? I take that thing out of the box, brand new. I don't care whose name's on it. Supertrap,
Oh, yeah,
Morosi.
yeah.
It doesn't matter. Weisco. I take that thing out and I hit every fucking mating edge.
Yep.
I just knock that ridiculously hard mating surface off of it at the ports and at the windows.
Yep.
Because I know that's some shit that can snag later on.
Yep.
And it takes me 20 minutes and it's never bit me in the ass, not once ever. And that's okay. I'm cool with that. It does not bother me to do that in the least. I'm fine with it. It really is okay.
No, it's 10 minutes at most of your time, and it saves you a lot of trouble down the line.
You guys, be careful. There's banks out there, and they're trying to fuck you.
Yeah, I think they all are.
This is why I bank with the ultimate evil, but okay.
Okay. I got to tell you a little something. I was reading about one of these motorcycle companies out there. You may have heard of them. Their name rhymes with HarleyDavidson. But this is one of their side projects called Livewire. And they've got a motorcycle that's not the top of the Livewire pile. It's the bottom of the Livewire pile called the Del Mar. And that's a $15,500 bike that is, best as I can tell in every measurable way, not quite as good as a Zero. But okay, we'll get back to that later. But it does, it's live wire, so yay. So they've gotten rid of that pesky Harley-Davidson badge, I guess. Lock you in with a $250 deposit right meow. What bothered me was that they have a payment plan to pay for it.
Sure.
Because, people like to know what the monthly payment might be on the motorcycle they're
And
buying.
these millennials, that's how they define things, I guess.
I think it is. And we might have to talk about that. Mm-hmm. We might have to be aware of that because it turns out it's kind of important. So I have a question. Financing. Mm-hmm. We all know about financing. I'm not going to teach you all anything about financing, but if you had, let's just say for the sake of argument, if you had yourself about a $15,500 motorcycle and you were going to finance it through the dealer's financing scheme or network or whatever it is, you raise your hand when you come up to the flaw in the logic here. And this is on their website. I'm not making this up. If you'd like to buy this $15,499 motorcycle, they require a 15% down payment. Oh, okay.
$2,250?
About $2,300, $2,400. That's your down payment. You're at the dealership, $2,400.
That's fair. I mean, that's not terrible.
Seems fair?
That seems, yeah.
And then they're going to give you 48 months.
Okay.
And it's going to be only $200 per month. Well, hold on. Let me strike that. They're going to give you 47 months at $200 per month.
Right.
The 48th month is going to be $8,438.
Is that a balloon note?
That's a balloon knot, Chris.
Yeah, that's called.
yeah.
That's not even an arm.
Right.
That's a fucking leg in your ass.
Now, when I was a kid, learning about spending my money poorly and buying things I couldn't afford, if you paid $2,500 up front and you made 47 payments in the middle,
That should have been your balance.
and then your last payment was $8,000, that whole thing's called lease,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Your
'cause you're
buyout
buying out.
at the end.
Yeah.
So I'm going to remind folks who are bad at math that
So hold on. 25.
you're spending $2,500. And we're to keep in mind, it's a $15,500 vehicle. Don't lose sight of that because it's about to become really fucking important.
Well, that's what I was doing. So
It's okay. I'll do it for you. I came prepared.
We got
Okay.
it. He did his homework.
Okay. You're going to spend about $2,400 up front. Mm-hmm. Sunk cost.
Right.
You're going to spend 47 months at $200 a pop.
About $9,000.
About $9,000.
10 grand. Oh, yeah, whatever.
So now you're in it for 11 and a half, right? Mm-hmm. 11 and a half large. It turns out that with their interest rate, that turns out being $13,174. The number's going to get a little sticky here because this is now the fourth year. Mm-hmm. Now, would you like to keep that? Because if you want to keep that, it's going to cost you $8,438 to keep that. Now, here's the trick. A 4-year-old Livewire Del Mar ain't going to be worth $8,438.
Probably not.
Do you know why I know that? Because a 4-year-old Livewire, not a Del Mar, right? The bigger, better, faster one, the more powerful one, has experienced more than a 50% drop in its value in 4 years of existence on this planet. So the likelihood of this vehicle having a residual value of $8,438 is zero. However,
Even if it has the seat shaker?
your dumbass is on the hook and has already paid over $15K.
Yeah.
You've paid, I'm going to say that again for the cheap seats. If you can't afford to go into your dealership and write a check for $15,500 plus, and that plus means tax, title, and freight and prep, which is the way the world works.
Right.
So if you can't pay $5,599 plus give or take another $1,800, don't buy this bike.
Right.
Because two things are going to happen. First of all, the financing Unky Phil just talked about is based on the $15,499 MSRP. you're not paying MSRP. You're paying MSRP plus plus plus. Your $2,400 down payment, that doesn't change. You're going to have to pay for your tax on day one, too. You cannot finance your tax. You're going to pay your prep on day one as well. The dealership's not going to let you finance your prep. Your shipping and your freight, you're going to pay that on day one, too. Harley-Davidson has been known to charge up to $1,200 for freight, depending on what dealership you're working with, so be careful on that. Now, we talk about that balloon knot payment at $8,438. This lease, please don't call this a payment plan. Please don't call this financing. This is a fucking lease by any other name.
Like, let me ask you something. Have you ever met somebody that like pays $200 a month for something that can pay $8,000 at the end? Like 90% of the people I know, if they're buying something at $200 a month, it's because they don't have
$8,000 in one place. But maybe they're thinking to a date 4 years in the future where they're no longer a temporarily embarrassed billionaire. Because that's what America's full of. It's temporarily embarrassed billionaires.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's right fucking here, guys. I didn't make this up, by the way. This is on their website. You just have to scroll all the way to the bottom to see it. It's in that 6-point font that you got to have a bigger monitor to read. But it's pretty short and sweet. And I'm going to read you the part. And in case you're not sure, this is called DITA, dick in the ass. Okay, that's the part of the contract I'm going to read for you right now. 9.84% APR results in, and by the way, this is with a tier 1 credit score. 9.84% APR results in 47 monthly payments of $192.23 a piece and a 48th balloon payment of $8,438. In this example, customer is responsible for applicable taxes, title, licensing fees, and any other fees or charges at the time of sale. So there goes your $2,400 down payment. That's now $4,000 at least. APR is calculated according to the simple interest method, not valid in conjunction with other offers, other terms, conditions, and limitations may apply. My friend, this is the only financing program available to you by Livewire if you're making the purchase for this vehicle. Anything else is BYO financing. Okay? Be very careful. Be extremely careful today if you are thinking about buying a motorcycle on time. Because there's a lot of leases out there masquerading themselves as financing. And they're not financing.
But are you allowed, are you allowed to not buy it at the end?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so like if
you are completely 100% allowed at the end of this term to take it back into Harley-Davidson, where since it is not a lease, they are not required to buy that bike back at all, and they can tell you to go fuck your hat.
Okay, that's my point. So it's just a fuck.
You may just own that son of a bitch, and they might just say, Sleepy, it's time for your $8,500 last payment. Otherwise, we're going to send the guy to get your bike back for free.
Can I finance that?
Right. Can you refi your $8,400 last payment? Only if you want to go on paying for this bike for the rest of you and your child's natural born existence.
Yeah, no kidding.
Because I promise you, after 4 years, this bike will not be worth $8,400, and you will not find a bank on this planet to give you a loan to buy one payment.
I mean, think about this. The technology.
Well, a credit union will give you a loan to buy a doorstop for $20,000, right, as long as you're willing to pay it back.
But
right?
you're gonna be stuck. But
if your dumbass wants to do that,
can you imagine being locked into an electric motorcycle for 9 years? You know, because think about how much technology is changing every couple of years.
Yeah.
By the time you're making your last payments on that fucking thing, your
last payment is goddamn $8,500, Sleepy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, here's my trick, and this is where I think it's bad. I used to literally look at people who did leases. Like, dude, you're a businessman. You have to have a perfect car. You're going to pay $300, $400 a month. Somebody else is going to take care of the maintenance for you. And when it comes time to turn it in, another DITA, another big old dick in your ass. If you have worn out tires or a scratch, or it's a pickup truck and you actually put something in the back of it. You've done some leases, right, with your vehicles? It's a very specific use package.
Yeah.
And I often think that motorcycles are not a real good candidacy for leases because they tend to not have great residual value. And buying yourself out of a lease at the end of it with a car is always an option. You're like, I like this thing. I'm going to buy it out at the end of the lease. That's fine. But with motorcycles, it's a little bit sketchier than that. And here's what my problem with this is. I used to think that leases were kind of dumb, but in a very specific use scenario, they might pay off. And this one, this is just fucking criminal, man. This is just abusive. This is a lease without your ability to give the fucker back. Mm-hmm. This is 48th payment is $8,438. McElfresh, you used to be in the finance game. Like, that's what your job was, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I know it was a long time ago. What do you think about this? Like, is there any redeeming quality to this at all?
Oh, a lease?
This particular payment program, where it's not a lease, you don't even give it back at the end of the 48 months. You're on the hook for an $8,400 balloon payment.
I mean, it's like anything, buyer beware. And a lot of people, you get a contract and you just sign it. You know, how aware was the buyer of that balloon payment at the end is my big question. I mean, if it was made clear and or, you know, then you should be able to plan for that. You know that your bike is, you know, you're buying this thing, you're going to have an
ticking time bomb.
You either need to get it sold or you need to get other financing. And so, you know, I mean, the whole thing doesn't make any sense at all to me.
Doesn't it seem like just a mountain of negative equity from day one?
Well, yeah, I mean,
because you're paying $4,000 to get the keys.
But that's nothing. I mean, that's buying a new vehicle. I mean, you roll off the lot; it's worth half what you pay for. I mean, that's what everybody says. You know, that's why you buy a 2-year-old vehicle or a 3-year-old vehicle.
When I read this, and honestly, I wasn't looking at this because I was considering buying a fucking Livewire or anything else. I'm trying to purge the zeros I have right now. But when I looked at this thing and I saw the way it was set up and the way it was structured, it was so offensive to me that I actually had to go back. And remember that Livewire is not owned by, you know, Livewire is not Harley-Davidson
anymore. I think the main thing that's remarkable about it is who else does that?
So I'm glad you asked.
I mean, that's not boilerplate. That's kind of a curveball, but
it's kind of a curveball.
But maybe somebody else is doing that same thing.
So I looked it up, and it turns out it's a new trend. Okay. So these aren't the only.
You can't afford it. We're going to keep your payments low, but here's the catch.
So those of you
you're going to owe us in 4 years. You're going to owe us this huge balloon payment. You're not going to know.
Those of you out there in purchasing new vehicle land, every MBA asshole in the world is trying to figure out how to screw you on financing. So read your contracts.
Now you can get 75-month financing.
Oh yeah, no shit.
75 months.
Even at 48 months, you got to put away an extra $175 a month.
That's
what are you going to do whenever you're selling
up to your 8,400?
You've made cars cost as much as a house. So I mean, you know, $60,000 car.
How much was your truck? Yeah. The white truck.
My white truck was $52,000.
Which I think when my parents bought their house, it was not $50,000.
Oh, my parents' house was $13,000 in 1971 or whatever. But yeah, even my house that I live in, when I bought it 25 years ago, was $90,000, right? This house that we're sitting in is 3 of my F-150s.
Yeah.
So this house is 3 F-150s. If you want to take it down to sweet, easy numbers.
It's ridiculous that we've come to the point in our society that vehicles cost as, like, I think your truck full boat with all the goodies is over $100,000.
Right. Oh, if you want to do... Look, we are now part of a culture where the lowest grade F-150 work truck that Grandpa would use to move manure around the farm...
White on white with an automatic.
...can also be a $100,000 luxury vehicle. And everything that's different is what you put into it, right? That's absolutely true.
And now we're coming up with financial schemes that basically, we'll bring that payment down to whatever you need it to be, but at the end, you're going to owe us this huge payment you're going to have to refi.
Yep, exactly. So, would you guys like to hear what the other side of the rainbow is? The other side of the rainbow is Harley-Davidson's, remember, Livewire said under $200 a month. Now, this is why if you come into my shop and you say, I want to buy a bike, $200 a month, I'm going to have to stop my eyes from rolling. I'm going to go put on a very special other hat I have, right? That's called the guy who wants to buy the monthly payment hat. Because I can do that too. We're going to talk for a brief moment about Harley-Davidson's other financing plan, also through ESB, Eagle Mark Savings Bank. I checked. There are no branches of Eagle Mark Savings Bank. I cannot go there. They do not have an ATM out front. Eagle Mark Savings Bank is who? Well, the first word is Eagle. Harley-Davidson is in the banking business.
Oh, good for them. Well,
Okay?
Does
right.
anybody remember GMAC?
Don't sell the weed, grow the weed, and sell the weed. Yeah. Right? That's it. Right? So let me tell you about this sweetheart deal they're cutting you. Because on a brand new Sportster, for all you young folks that like Sportsters, you can have a brand new Sportster for under $200 a month.
You're lending people money to buy the weed, though.
Are we? Yes.
Correct.
Sleepy.
Correct.
We got to get on this.
I see this.
Right. Weed savings and loan.
Yeah, no shit.
Right.
Well, it's Ford Motor Credit,
I know.
Chrysler.
So like
had
you're
it.
selling a joint for $10, but then with interest, it's actually 12. It's just
Correct.
awesome.
That's how
That's
it
a
works.
rent-to-own doobie.
Rent to own.
That's it. I'm not at all.
I just had deja vu that we accidentally did this a year ago, like that line.
What, rent-to-own doobie?
Yeah, no,
I've never
I
said
think
that
we,
before in my
I think
life.
we talked about like this kind of a thing, and I swear,
Oh.
like this whole scenario, I just had
Oh.
this whole like fucking flashback.
Well,
Anyways,
and you would, because
Yeah.
You're having
built for that.
flashbacks every couple of minutes.
So your $12,000 motorcycle, we're just going to go through it super fast. They do advertise this sumbitch, and this is a new Nightster. This is a, liquid cooled 1000cc kick-ass new Harley-Davidson. Don't call it a Sportster, right? It's a cool bike. Don't get me wrong. I'm all over these fucking things. But here's the plan. And if you're thinking about running right out and buying a fucking motorcycle, and this is the cheapest bike they offer, by the way, cheapest bike they offer, cheapest way you can buy a brand new Harley-Davidson is $11,999 because there ain't no 500s and 750s anymore.
We can't see it up on our screen.
Hold on. Let me work with you on that. Right? Let me work with you on that.
Because Johnny Mac would really like have a 72-month payment on a Nightster.
Well, no, Tom,
Yeah.
it gets worse.
Oh God.
It gets fucking worse, man.
Well, the
It
first-
gets fucking worse. There ain't no better way to put it. It gets worse. Let's go ahead and let me know when you can see that up
that's what I
there.
was
Let's
looking up.
see what we got going on. All right.
I mean, my comment on a lease is sometimes a lease can be a very good way to keep your payment low. You're going to spend more money in the long run. You're going to pay for 8 years as opposed to 5 years or something like that. But you can lease it for the first 3 years, and then if you're careful and look closely at your contract, your buyout's usually a lot less than what you could buy a 3-year-old vehicle at that point. You know what I'm saying? So if it was a decent vehicle, then you go on and you finance that and buy it out, and that's actually not a stupid way to buy things.
Right. And I know that when
If you had just cash, that's the best, cheapest way to buy things.
That's what I've done on the vehicles I've leased. With the exception of the truck, which had a major problem that I just turned it in. I didn't want to deal with it.
you don't want to dick with it. Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it too. Is you might have a problem with a vehicle and be thrilled that there's a way out, and you can be like, yeah, I've had my fun. It's been swell, but the swelling's gone now. Let's let somebody else have this problem.
I never really looked at this bike before.
Yeah.
Like when you're sitting on that seat,
Yeah.
your boys are going to be right kind of at the lip of that seat. How hot do heads of motors usually get?
Well, these are liquid cooled, so they're
so
helping
that's
a
like
little
the
bit.
Pan America motor in there.
Yeah,
It
so
is.
that is exactly right.
But like, look at that. Like you have 1 inch between that top of the motor and your nuts. Mm-hmm. Literally.
Yeah. I'm not saying anything. Remember, the air-cooled Sportster is gone now.
Yeah.
That's gone. The days of the $8,999 Sportster are finished. There is no Iron 883. There's no 72. There's no 48. This is what you got. If you come in with your newspaper route money, this is what you're riding. They do make some other versions of it. I mean, I'll pull up one that's a little sexier so you don't have to look at that fucking awful thing. We'll just go ahead and do Sportster S for you because that's not as offensive to look at, but it is going to cost you another goddamn $4,000 or $5,000, right? This is kind of a sexy bike. It's kind of a sexy machine. Sportster S is kind of cool looking.
With a real set of mufflers, that thing would probably be really nice.
We all talked about those mufflers that are designed to force you to take them off and replace them, right?
Now I see why you said that.
I said that.
Yep.
I did. So this is $17,000, but we're not going to use this as an example. I want to use the cheapest bike that Harley sells as the example. I want to make sure that we're doing that right. $12,000. So we're just going to scroll down to the bullshit. I mean, avoid all the other marketing crap. Go right down here. Small print. Okay. Billiard gray, MSRP of $11,999. You got to put $10,000. You got 10% down. So hey, that's cool. You're only going to come out of pocket what, $12,000? Hold on. 12 grand is going to be plus your tax, plus your title, plus your freight. I do happen to know, talking to local Harley-Davidson dealership, destination on this particular bike is $1,200. Okay? So $1,200, that means we're instantly going to be putting right down about $3,500. So you're going to come out of pocket $3,500, or if you're a dipshit, you're going to put it on your credit card. Okay? Because you got to put 10% down of your $12,000, that's $1,200. You got to put down $1,200 destination charge, that's $2,400. You got 8% tax in the state of Ohio. So 8% tax on $12,000 is about $1,000. And right now we're at $3,000. You got destination charge. You got your assembly of $240, right? And you might have a temp tag or something like that. Oh, title fee for $100 too. Don't forget that. So if you can get away with $3,600 and you put it on your Visa, Master, Discover, like some of my customers do, good job. You've really buried yourself. Okay. So you couldn't even afford to show up to court day one. Now you're hoping for a very speedy trial. Okay, here we are. 84 month payment plan. If you want to know how you get a $200 monthly payment, my friend, it's an 84-month payment plan.
What's that, 7 years?
Yeah, 7 years. Want to hear an interesting thing about this? I looked it up. You guys know when you buy a house, you get a 15-year mortgage or a 30-year mortgage, the first couple of years you're just paying interest.
Yep.
You're not really diving into the principal until the last few years.
Yep.
They structure these the same way.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Check your buyout, boys. Check your buyout.
Well, why not though?
If you get tired of your motorcycle, the bank wants to make sure that if you get tired of your motorcycle after 4 years, they've gotten their interest out of
they
you.
got the interest, yeah.
If you quit making your payments after 3 years, the bank wants to make sure they got their interest out of you.
Yep.
Bank gets paid first. You will be shocked to find out after 5 years into your 8-year contract that your equity in this vehicle is
$300,
as Chris would say,
Squatouche.
fucking A, squatouche. Be careful, guys. If you're going out there and you want to fucking, let's just say it, it's a rent-to-own motorcycle.
Yep.
You're paying $200. You're lucky to get out of there. $3,600 on day one. You're going to be spending $200 a month for the next, no shit, 7 years of your life. Do you know what a Sportster's worth after 7 years? Chris?
Squatouche.
Thank you. Exactly. And you're paying, and tier 1 credit, 750 credit score, you're paying 11.74% APR.
Good God.
That's a lot of money.
No shit.
But it's going to crumble because people can't do that.
Well, it has
People
been...
are going to look at. I mean, people can't do that.
These are the rules. If you cannot abide by them,
Then you don't buy-
Harley-Davidson will be happy to repossess your
Correct.
motorcycle.
No, but your people. It's going to stop people from buying them.
It will.
Right.
People are going to be like, "This is sick. I can't do this. I'm not buying it. I can't buy it."
Johnny?
If you can see past your "I got a brand new Harley-Davidson boner,"
Yeah.
to understand what this is, that is, by the way, in print on the bottom of their fucking front page of their website.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you that it could be in print in fucking 14-point font on the front of their brochure.
People wouldn't read it.
You're right, Chris.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking Knuckles will still buy these bikes because it's $200 a month and I can have a Harley.
Yep. No, they have been
The Surgeon
They
General
have been
has
playing,
said that smoking these will cause you cancer.
Yep. They have
And
been
stop one motherfucker that smokes.
They've been playing this exact game for 30 years.
So
It has not mattered. Oh, the only thing that has changed is the term limits of how long you're paying for this thing. They haven't changed a damn thing.
Tom, do you think it's had an impact on their sales volume?
So Phil and I were talking about this earlier. There's a certain auction company that has for years warehoused excess Harley-Davidsons.
don't hide it. I came into our podcast and remember I brought 14 sheets of paper.
Yeah.
And I sat down at the podcast and I handed you guys all 14 sheets of paper and we talked about 5,000 Harley-Davidsons being auctioned.
Yep.
35 to 45 seconds per bike.
Yep.
And what kind of numbers they were pulling.
And
how much money people were losing on that. And sometimes dealers were paying over retail for the bikes. And sometimes people were getting away with murder. And I got away with murder a few times. But
the entire point of this was basically to keep the market up, keep the ball up in the air. And the question now is, how much longer can they keep the ball up in the air?
Harley-Davidson has in excess of $80 million worth of pre-owned inventory that is derelict, defunct, bad credit, bad debt, you call it whatever you want to call it, and they can't find enough repo men to go out and get it.
Yep.
Because repoing a Harley-Davidson is a little different than repossessing your car or whatever. It's a harder job. Harley-Davidson now...
and like you said, though, then the asset remarketing, even if they do repo it, you're not going to get shit for it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's, I mean,
It's certainly not going to pay off the loan. The mortgage is what I wanted to say.
The mortgage.
So let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
With Eagle Savings Bank, who takes the loss? Harley-Davidson shouldn't take the loss because Eagle Savings Bank's the one that's underwriting the loan.
I'll bet you that Eagle Savings Bank is very proud to say how much money they've lost last year in the form of tax abatement or tax management. And maybe that's one of those things that wasn't designed to last for a long time business model, but let's get through this next couple of years business model. This thing that...
Going out of business since the day they opened.
Hey, Johnny Mac.
Subprime loans.
There we are.
Have always been a very touchy thing. When people are writing bad paper and they know they're writing bad paper, and you know that people buy paper for 10 cents on the dollar.
Yep.
We buy bad. People buy bad loans.
You bundle them and buy them.
And I wonder if that whole Eagle Bank thing that we're looking at might not be just this. When this is on Harley-Davidson's website, this is page 2. By the way, this is page 2. This is Harley-Davidson pre-owned.
Dude, why does that Harley up there look like it's a Japanese copy of a Harley?
Yeah,
they're actually going in the other direction.
But here's the thing I want you to be aware of.
You've still got to modernize these things.
Don't brag about the fact that I've got herpes 14 times and it ain't killed me yet. Huh. That hasn't got... I'm not impressed.
Oh, you've been to Sturgis too.
Harley-Davidson says 29,491 bikes. Find your one. They're talking about pre-owned bikes. They're talking about bikes that are back in the system. You might think, oh, yeah, that's great. My Harley dealer took one back in on trade. It's been lovingly taken care of. And I can go get a pre-owned Harley that's certified pre-owned, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. 29,491 bikes is people that couldn't make their payments.
I was going to say, that's an amazing incarceration rate.
That is a really fucking high incarceration rate, John. That is a really high incarceration rate. And this way, they're getting these bikes that they've picked back up, that they've repoed back in. Now, I'll tell you a little something about crawling through the auctions the way I used to. Meaning, I'd go in there the day before the auction. I'd look at about 5,000 motorcycles. Mm-hmm. And I could get pretty quick at looking at a motorcycle and learning about it. And there's always this thing when I looked at the ticket and I'd see that it was a repo, a profit and loss write-off, right? Skip tracing, et cetera. These companies were pretty obvious who they were. I'd always look at the back of the bike and see that the person had burned the tires down until they blew out.
Yep.
Because I haven't made a payment on this bitch in 4 months, and I know they're repoing it. I know they're coming to get it. So, Vern, let's go out and burn the fucking tire off. Let's take all the oil out of the bike. God damn it, Sleepy.
For the record, I'm the only one who hasn't farted on this podcast yet.
I know, right?
So what I would like to... The mechanics at NPA were actually really, really good. One of our friends, Shannon, she worked there as a mechanic at NPA, and they do a really good job on the sheet to tell you the motor on this bike is stuck. This bike won't start. The bid sheet on these bikes is actually pretty goddamn good if you're willing to read it. But more importantly, walk up to the fucking bike, turn the key, and start it. Now, 57 punters are going to start this bike the day before the auction, so you may have to go get one of the mechanics to bring you a battery cart and jump the sumbitch.
I'm going to start it, make sure it runs good, and then leave the key on so nobody else does.
If you've ever participated in an auction with 1,200 other dealers and you think you have dirty tricks, my friend, you are new here.
Oh, no. You were born yesterday, man.
You're new here.
Pull the spark plug.
I've done Mannheim auto auctions since I was 18. No, I have seen all the tricks.
It's evil. It's evil. And guys that do that I'm a punter. I go in there, I buy 13 motorcycles. I buy 14 motorcycles. I'm having a good day. That was a good trip to Cincinnati. Woohoo, I got 14 bikes. There are guys that leave there with 80, 90, 100 bikes.
Yep.
You can't even see these guys bid. Mm-hmm. They're bidding from Planet Zeltron. And plus, there's online bidders happening at the exact same time, but every bike only gets 45 seconds, maybe 90 seconds if it's going hot and heavy. They're going to squeeze some more time out of it. But this is what scares me. 29,491 bikes, and they're offering the same financing deals. Hey, that's right.
So
If
let
a
me ask
little's
you
good, a
something.
lot's better, buddy.
If Harley has the new bikes and they're way too expensive,
Yep.
and they kind of have like encompassed their own secondary market and they're too expensive.
Yep.
The independent guys that have bikes, the value of those are gonna fucking shoot up now because that's all anybody's gonna be able to afford cash wise. You know what I mean? Like even like some shitty fucking Sportster that was $3,000 last year is now going to be $5,000 because the dude who wants the inter-level bike can't afford $16,000, but he can still afford $6,000.
Well, Sleepy, here's the flaw in your logic. An independent has still got to pay rent. A Harley dealer, they got more money than they know what to fucking do with, which is why they opened a Harley dealer.
No, but I'm saying like
I get it, but you still have to turn product to make money. And if an independent can't make money, they're going to turn it as fast as they can.
An independent?
saying-
You mean an independent like just an owner?
I'm just
A
talking
guy
about
who
an
owns
owner.
a motorcycle.
Yeah, like a guy that owns a Sportster that's
Right.
in fucking real nice condition right now, right?
Yep.
So now the kid that's like, I want to, well, fuck, they don't make Sportsters anymore. They make the Rockstar or whatever the fucking thing
No,
is.
I want to buy that 2020 48.
Yeah,
right?
and it's $12,000 now or whatever,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
But look at their fucking shitty financing. I can't do that. But now this dude down the street that had the $2,500 Sportster, that's looking more attractive. But
Hell
that
yeah,
dude
it is.
Realizes that
Hell
there's
yeah,
a
it is.
market now. So now
Yeah.
he says, well, actually, I want $4,000 for it.
Right.
But that's still appealing because you can't afford this.
That's exactly right.
Right.
That is exactly
and I
right.
can finance for 6% through Chase.
right.
You could that Sleepy is actually the one good fucking thing in this entire deal is because they've taken in all of these bad credit bikes. They've taken
Right.
in all these bikes. And I mean, look, 60 miles on that Nightster, right? 60 miles on that thing. But it's not new. It's used, man. That's pre-owned. That's somebody who bought a Nightster, rode it for 60 miles, and said, this was a bad idea.
Or never made a payment.
Or never made,
Or
a,
never
payment.
made a payment.
Exactly, right? When you got another one sitting right there with 254 miles. This isn't nationwide, by the way. This is here in Cleveland alone. Look at the background on these pictures. That's all that very same rock and roll Harley
That
Davidson
almost
dealership.
feels like it was like a dealership got closed or something. Like those were no.
1 mile.
Now, there you go. There you go. Now, that's a dealership. That bike never left the dealership.
Yeah.
That's old inventory that went unsold, but it's a goddamn 4-year-old bike.
Yep.
Right? 4-year-old bike. So all these things are going to get another second chance at life being financed through who? Harley Davidson.
Or Screaming Eagle. Or
Whatever they're called.
Eagle
Bank.
Savings Bank.
Evil Savings Bank.
Evil,
ESB. Right? So all these bikes are bikes that are pre-owned. They're bikes that Harley Davidson can do a certified pre-own on, whatever. It ain't the fucking bike they're making the money on because they repoed that son of a bitch. They've already made money on that bike once. Now they're about to make it better because they're doing what they're financing it. And that's where the money is at 11.9% on a $10,000 bike. Easy math on that. You're going to make about $2,000, $3,000 over the life of the loan. So let's be careful with this shit if you're going out buying bikes, guys. The market is getting fucking weird.
Yep.
The interest rates are all super high right now, but if you haven't looked at what interest rate is on your credit card, you might get fucking shocked and scared. Yeah. You remember that 7% credit card you had last year? It might be a 20% credit card right now. Don't let it go past 30 days. It's a weird time right now if you're buying motorcycles. The other thing is, I please want to remind all of my friends and listeners out there that you are not allowed to sell a motorcycle you don't own. Mm-hmm. I know this sounds like some really weird, dumb advice. I've had 4 people this week sell me motorcycles that they don't own. If you haven't made the last payment and have a letter saying you're released from the loan, the bank owns your bike.
Mm-hmm.
Lien release.
You
Correct.
don't own it. You can't sell it. Get it the fuck off of Facebook.
No, but once you pay me, dog, I'm going to go and pay it off. And
Thank
then
you.
I'll bring you the title.
Give me your bank's information, and we'll talk to the bank. Because that's
How many
You're not getting that
marketplace
check.
ads say that? Like, do have a lien on it. Once you pay me,
Lien transfer.
Yeah,
Yep.
I will go and pay. And you're like,
Nope.
yeah, I'm.
So 4 times this week. And I got to say, one of them was such a sore dick deal. I took it.
Really?
I took it. but I got the bike in my possession,
Right.
and they got to go do the thing. And of course, they were like, I'm going to do this, and then I'll have a title for you this afternoon. And I was like, yeah, right. Yeah, sure you will. Yeah. Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, they mail that shit. It's going to be a week and a half on your best bet. And in the meantime, I'm not giving you a check.
Right.
Because I love that the guy's like, well, you give me the check, and I'll cash your check, and then I'll go pay my note. No. No. That is not how it works.
Right.
And
Would you ever say, well, okay, so you still owe $2,000 on it. Here's $2,000, pay your note, and then I'll give you the other, rather, what, $6,000.
think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Well, then he's going to
I
come
might
back.
do that for you.
Then he's going to come back and be like, he stole my bike. I have my title.
Trust
I
me.
want my bike back.
Trust me. Anybody who's in business isn't going to do that, and I hope if
No.
you're doing it out of your garage, you're not going to do it either. But be careful out there. If you have a note, somebody else owns that bike. It's not yours. Don't change the exhaust. Don't change the seat. Don't cut the fucking center stand off of it. It's not your bike. You don't own it. If you have 48 payments left on your pickup truck, don't spend $8,000 on rims.
Dude, every kid in Medina does.
I know. There's a whole Facebook group saying the bank wouldn't like you doing that to their car.
Right.
Right? But in motorcycles, it's a big deal because people buy motorcycles and they think like, this is the motorcycle I'm going to have for the rest of my life. And 3 years later, they're like, what the fuck was I thinking? Better motorcycles exist. And this was a bad decision. Apparently, every Nightster owner thought that within like 600 miles, right? Apparently, the Nightster is a very shortly loved motorcycle or an instantly repoed motorcycle. One of the two. I can't figure it out.
Right?
It is really strange that they have that many low mile bikes.
I can't see what the pricing is on those.
You can't
for me.
on these because you have to contact the dealer
Oh,
for the price.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
We need to rub our sales department on you.
Okay.
We're not going to tell you, we're not going to show you ours until you show me yours. I need to see your credit score before I tell you the price on something.
For
all right?
you.
Well,
You're more of a pond
there's
guy.
more.
That's-
There's more special things in here, like this bullshit 2017 Harley-Davidson Street 750, right? You want to talk about somebody who, the day this leaves the dealership, everyone's going to have a party, right? This is one of those bikes you're like,
Oh, wow.
it fucking left.
I
They're like,
honestly,
let me get a picture of you for our Hall of Fame.
I honestly didn't realize. I'm
the guy who bought the 750.
By the way, in the listing, it says no description available because I promise you, the dealership does not want to admit that this bike has no miles on it
Right.
ever.
It's-
It's been on 3 test rides. Oh no, it does. It has 2,500 miles on it. So okay, great. That 7-year-old bike has 2,500 miles on it. I bet you it has 2 owners. I bet you it's on its 3rd owner.
The sad truth is, I'm sitting here. I'm kind of doing Facebook at the same time. Marketplace at the same time, looking to see what everything's going for.
Yeah.
And you can buy an 883 or XL 1200 cheaper than you can buy average price for a Harley Street
Guys,
500 750.
Okay, when you get
I'm
to
like, what
when you
the
get
hell?
to a dealership that isn't rock and roll, this is Southeast Harley, the diners in the background. I used to work at this dealership. So I used to work at this particular dealership, 1999 Sportster 1200. That's a good one. That's actually a bike you want to have. $3,995.
Well, what was the
That's Chinese scooter money, pal.
Yeah. No
Right?
kidding.
That's
What was
Chinese
the,
scooter
What was
money.
the 1200 I got running for the guy that had the really bad Savage a couple months ago?
Yeah.
And I said, this might be the first Harley that I've actually got running that wasn't offensive.
It was that bike.
It was that bike.
It was that bike.
And you sold it for about that, and I went,
I
well,
did.
that's not a bad
I sold
deal
it for
at all.
$4,000 and it
Yeah.
had half as many miles on it.
Yeah.
It had 6,000 miles on
And
it. And it's a good bike. I'll ride those all day
literally,
long.
I looked at you and I
Yeah.
went, this is the least offensive Sportster I've ever gotten running.
And the interesting thing was that particular bike was the 883C
Yeah.
version of this.
Yeah.
So it had a 21-inch pizza cutter on the front and
Right.
wheel on the back. But that's $4,000. That gives you an idea. Like, don't buy a $14,000 Sportster when right on their website is a $4,000 Sportster.
Yeah.
It's just as Sportster.
And kids playing at home.
Is it not the same?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Sleepy, if I showed up in your driveway on this bike
Yeah.
or on the 2023,
You can literally buy that with a
I'd be like,
credit
oh,
card.
there's
and
Phil
get-
on a Harley.
You can buy it on a
You get
credit
the
card.
same
You know what's
street cred.
funny? You know what's funny?
You can buy
Except for like maybe the Sportster, but if it's not the Sportster, if it's any other Harley,
Right.
I don't give a fuck if it's like the $60,000 one or whatever. It's just a Harley to me. Like all of them, I don't care what. It's just a Harley.
It's just a Harley.
People are always
man.
yelling.
It's
He's
just
got
a
the
Harley.
FL, XL, CL,
The FL,
whatever.
ART, yeah.
Fucking Harley, dude. I don't know. And again, I don't hate Harleys. I'm still one. Actually, would like to own one someday. If it's nice cruising, it's slick. Like
They're absolutely horrible to push across the floor, but other than that, they're okay.
I will say, pushing my Road King, pushing it
I can't imagine.
backwards, like moving it around the showroom. It's a bag of wiggles. It's a 900-pound wiggle factory because the handlebars are rubber mounted.
Yep.
Right? And you're trying to push this thing around, and it's giving you all kinds of weird inputs and giving you all kinds of suggestions that it doesn't really want to go where you're pushing it anyway. It's meant to go forward down the road, and that's what it's meant to do.
There's a reason
Yeah.
that what do you call it? A lazy Susan for your garage exists for the old guys that have those.
Boy, you're not
bikes.
fucking kidding. And I still believe that any motorcycle over 500 cc should have reverse.
Yes.
It's a
Right.
chromed out rubber chicken.
Tom and I,
Oh, yeah.
we're dealing with a little bullshit Piaggio scooter.
Oh, yeah.
That's electric, and it's adorable. And you could put one on each foot and go like 35 miles an hour, right? But it's got reverse.
It does.
It's got reverse.
It does.
It's
Is
civilized.
it just using the starter backwards thing?
It's an electric scooter.
So they're one of the Instagram.
So it's not even using anything backwards, John.
Phil,
It's just there's a button you press and the electrons flow the other way.
Phil, one of the Instagram people that I follow, a lady that rides motorcycles, posted her Honda Goldwing. What's the model you like? The F9B, F6B.
F6B.
Has all the gadgets and everything else, but no reverse.
See, that's the thing. Okay, a Goldwing has reverse
Except
because
for the F6B.
Goldwings are meant for old people.
Except for the F6B.
F6Bs are meant for almost old people. There are.
Everybody, she's like,
Because I think they had a decision. They were like, for an extra $138, we can put reverse on this. And he's like, no, because that would attract an older clientele and take away from our Goldwing sales.
Yep.
We need to have a reason a dude's going to buy a Goldwing, which is like $4 or $5 more than the F6B. Well, the F6B is just a naked Goldwing. It's still got the bags and everything. It's not a Valkyrie. A Valkyrie is a stripped down Goldwing with no bags. And it's like, I'm an American cruiser, but I really have a Boxer, 6-cylinder engine by Honda. The Valkyrie is the Valkyrie. The F6B, to me, Chris knows, I'm going to buy one someday. There's going to be a yellow one. One of these days, you're going to show up to podcast and Unky Phil's going to be like, ta-da. Everybody,
I want to ride it.
everybody go ride this bike. I'm going to make you ride this bike at gunpoint because part of me buying this bike is making everybody else ride it because I've had several Valkyries come through my shop, the old Valkyries. The new Valkyries don't have the same charisma as the old Valkyries. They're kind of just a naked F6B, right? But it's fuel injected. It's a 6-cylinder. It's a big burly looking boy.
Oh, that's a good looking bike.
It's a cool bike, isn't it?
Yeah,
An F6B is a cool looking bike.
oh yeah.
It's not insulting.
But
I want one of those.
thinking that the Piaggio has reverse and the F6B does not.
Well, so, one of our podcast buddies said that their podcast, the guys in that podcast were the carp. They were the carp. They were at the bottom of the pond just waiting for the cheap bikes to filter down to them, right? And eventually they'd get the bike they wanted.
Yep.
It just took time.
Yep.
Now that's been my story of life. I eventually got a Ducati 1000 GT, GT 1000 Sport. I eventually got the bikes I wanted. I just had to wait long enough. And the F6B, the price on that, it was getting so low that I was like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's actually going to happen. And then COVID happened and everything went up. And I was like, they pulled it back up again. I love the F6B. And not only do I love the F6B, but I love the F6B in yellow. The fuck you Honda yellow. The just ridiculous. They made it in silver, white, black, and red, right? You see a lot of that. But the yellow one is the screaming yellow zonker.
Yeah, if you're going to have a Honda Magna 750, it's got to be yellow. If you have one of those, it's got to be yellow.
For real.
Like, when Honda has a yellow bike, it's usually like, that's the one color you want.
I know we talk about ride red, right? I know we talk about, like, it's a Honda. It better be red. No, in this particular case, I disagree.
But Honda yellow is different than, like, Yamaha yellow. Like, it has its
is.
own
You're right.
individual yellow.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I do... God damn it. It's one of those things where I just kind of go, yeah. And... I know there's about a 73% chance that I'm going to get this motorcycle and I'm going to fucking hate it. I'm going to have to trade it to Chris for his Vulcan.
Thanks. You let me know right up front.
I feel like I have to.
Just got to get it out of the way.
I feel like if I didn't warn you up front, that it would be a bad thing because I do have an unnatural love of Chris's Vulcan.
Yeah,
so.
I gotta trade you something for your V7. I feel bad for that bike. It's just sitting there.
Oh, is Nick not buying it? Nick should buy that.
He is not.
Oh, he's moving.
He's in New York City.
Fuck. Oh, man.
He's going to New York.
I just watched that podcast. I wasn't there for it, so I had to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, incognito.
You know who has two of those?
V7s?
Yeah.
Me.
Dave Nolan.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah.
I think he's trying to unload them.
Oh, is he really? Yeah.
That's what Pete says.
V7s?
Yeah.
Are they also red and white bobber livery? OSU Buckeye bikes?
I don't know the paint scheme, but
Yeah.
Did you ever sell the auction bike?
No. They haven't sold it. It's still there. I've had, shit tons of qualified buyers, but they're like, well, I'm going to go buy a T100. No shit. Every single person that looked at that Moto Guzzi V7 Scrambler came out, looked at it, loved it, great pedigree, flaming burnout under its belt, done, right? It's got cred. It's got cred.
That
The
was
tires,
like 6 years ago, the
yeah.
flaming burnout.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The tires are garbage Kenda, big blocks. They got to go. But, I'll do it. I'll throw you a set of TKC 80s or something sexy. That's fine. I'll put some Mitas on there. I don't care. I'll sell it to you. It's a great bike.
Yeah.
It's an amazing bike. Do you know why people don't want to buy it? Yeah, but, everybody, all my friends are buying Triumphs. Oh.
I mean, see,
This
it's
Moto-
hard. The Triumph's kind of nailed
This
it, though.
Moto
Bikes look
Guzzi
good,
thing is
man.
scary. I don't know if I understand it really. Do I have to wear red suspenders, or can I just own it? No, you got to wear red suspenders. It's a rule.
Just put some more brown leather parts on it. and
Yeah,
then,
good point.
Yep.
know?
Yeah, just lean hard into that.
Yep.
Honestly, And you know what? It's that kind of a fuck you bike where I'm like, it's mine. I built it. I like it.
Yeah.
You don't have to like it. I can put a set of TKC 80s on it too. Mm-hmm. And then I can just put it back into I'll put it back into the rotation. Somebody, like Kevin Combs or one of our friends, will make me a like a deal. That's a bad deal. Like trade it for a GB 500.
Why don't you do like all the other fucking people on all the groups do and do a waffle?
Dude, okay, when did that become?
I think it's just a way of not getting caught for saying raffle.
I know.
All right?
I know,
Yeah.
man. Yeah. But that became like a real thing.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
That's just it.
Yeah.
I've been trying to sell this bitch for 18 years.
Yeah.
$100 a ticket.
Yep.
I have
I
been
will only
slammed.
sell like this many tickets.
I'll only sell 10,000 tickets, whatever,
Yeah.
but it's a number. But yeah, I have been slammed on that so hard, where I'm on a lot of these JDM groups. Mm-hmm. And a guy's got something that is almost a Skyline. Like it's almost a Skyline. It's Skyline compatible.
It's a Silvio with the nose.
Yeah,
and
he
tail
can't get rid of it.
Yeah.
It ain't going nowhere. And so all of a sudden, it's like $100 a ticket. I'm only going to sell 500 tickets or whatever.
yeah.
I think Chrissy's doing that with a VBB or a Sprint or something down in Atlanta.
And that's always been a fun way to do it. If you're legit and you don't fuck up.
You know what actually works pretty well? You might try this for some of these bikes. I saw this on Adventure Rider, and it's pretty cool, and it doesn't go against any rules.
Yeah.
It's a reverse auction. So you go, okay, I'm starting today. Right now, if you want this bike, it's $10,000. I'm taking $10 off a day. So that way it lets the person who's like, I'll buy that bike at $7,500. I'm going to wait this motherfucker out.
Oh.
But then as it comes down and it gets to like 82, he's like, oh, wait a minute. It's getting kind of...
I better jump now.
I thought that was a fucking
That's a good
brilliant
idea. That's
so you
actually
start
really
and you
good.
put it in the description. So you say starting February 1st,
Right.
and then every day after it, so that gets people know like you're not cheating them because February 1st is $10,000.
I'll tell you, I will trade somebody a fucking Mid-Ohio pedigree under 700 miles. Title's never been titled, by the way. Brand new bike.
Brand new bike.
So you do have a 2-year limited mileage warranty there if you're intimidating enough to the dealer in your neighborhood. You could do that. I will trade you if you have an F6B in yellow. Let's talk. Let's dance. Because you're probably sick of that fucking heavy bike anyway, right? Yeah, you're probably sick of it. And if you're sick of it, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's trade it up. Let me give you this badass little Scrambler 750.
I think, and if you got that thing that you want,
yeah, F6B.
you got to put a track and a ski on it because it looks like a jet ski.
It's a big banana.
Yeah, just a big old banana
big
for
old banana.
wintertime cruising.
I look, I'll bring it home. We'll just go out and ride it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It might even turn into the town pump. It might just turn into like, hey, Phil, I need the F6B.
You know, I thought of that. We should have kept the PC800 just for pizzas and stuff.
We should. Why the fuck didn't we do that?
I don't know.
We should have kept one PC800.
Just go to get fucking snacks and shit.
Hofford's PC800 sitting in his backyard.
In his backyard.
Oh, shit.
I mean, you could get it for almost nothing.
Now, wait a minute. Don't lowball him. He knows what he has.
He knows he's not. He's like, I think $1,000.
Yeah, but it's like the problem is all we're going to use it for is a pizza bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to have 2 dirty carburetors in now.
Yeah.
That's it.
And a GV
Yeah.
box is much cheaper just to put on something else.
No, but it is funny though. It is hilarious that it's like there is still a PC800 in our territory. I don't know if I've paid him for the ambassador. We got to work that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. We may or may not. I think the title found its way into my shop, but yeah.
Did his GC 400C come back?
I bought that back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I bought that back. That's all.
I've still got a plan. I'm still working on that.
It's okay, Sleepy. I have 2 of them.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
You're not going to get shut out.
You're covered.
All right,
You're
all
fine.
right.
Yeah, your account is square with me, my friend. Your
Thank you.
credit's good. Yeah, unlike the 11% and 48 months
Yeah,
with the
right.
balloon payment at the end. You're fine.
I would like to finance that $4,000 for 72 months, please.
For the longest possible term.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. Anybody else got anything else for this fine American motorcycle
Smith,
podcast?
you better have something like
Any
involving a
jokes?
joke.
Settle down. Johnny's got something.
Did we
what?
hear the news about Triumph?
Whoa, what? Well, I'm sorry. Our Triumph representative is here. He's been quiet the entire episode.
This is kind of old news, but I'm not talking about the Daytona 660. I'm talking about
Thank God. Looking at that bike made my back hurt.
the third iteration of the 400.
Whoa. Now hold the presses. Third iteration of the 400.
Yep, it's going to be a cafe bike. And I think there's some spy photos online.
So it's going to be a mini Thruxton?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
They're doing
dude.
away with the Thruxton.
That's
the
knob worthy.
Thruxton's going away.
Yeah, but I'm saying that it's a concept, like a mini. Dude, that's knob rubbing worthy.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, we need
Hold
more
on.
information about this before
Hold
we cut.
on. I mean,
Man, we were on the ripcord too.
we
The
were
hand-
ready to go.
I was pulling on
We're
it.
fucking going. We're out of here,
Dan,
man.
why did you hold out on us?
know.
We've been talking about Harleys all night. That's crap.
Well, we were just talking about financing. That's all. It's just Harley-Davidson was our victim.
Tramps.
We're educating people on F&I, the thing that'll usually fuck
that's
you.
Dude, we didn't even talk about F&I.
Yeah.
I could do an hour on F&I.
Look at under the
coming soon.
400 RR.
Is that it? Oh, dude.
No.
No,
That's got like a Rickman.
No,
that's a parallel twin.
That's all
Okay.
a twin.
I was seriously about to
That's
start.
all a twin.
I was going to work.
What did
my
you
memory.
say, Dan?
Fucking
What's
thing.
the?
That
I
was
think
beautiful.
they called it the 400 RR.
Okay.
Pirates.
I would think the 400 RR would be a cafe racer. I mean, a sport bike. Right? Is the Triumph 400 coming to the USA? All right, yes. So Triumph for the right.
Oh wait, RR right there.
Where?
Triumph Speed 400 RR.
Oh, motorcyclesports.net, guys. Oh, spy photos.
400 RR spy photo.
They painted it in invisibility paint.
Yeah, no great photos of it.
What's
No,
the,
it's very bad.
No, but
photos.
it's got a fairing.
It's in Vanta Black.
It is in Vanta Black. When you look at it, you go back in time.
But you know what's disappointing? It's looking kind of small because that dude doesn't even look like a big dude, and it looks like he's on a CB350.
Yeah, so I went over to the Triumph dealer and I sat on the 400. And I had to move the bike around the dealership until I found a reflective surface to put it in because I refused to take anybody's word for it that I didn't look like I stole my sister's bike or something.
Right.
And I sat on this thing and I was like, it's pretty cool. I like it. It feels great. Looks cool. You know, I'm a big fan of middleweights. I'm a big fan of 400s. I'm used to riding a G400C. It's totally fine. Okay, fair
That's
enough.
not a small bike. The G400C is a normal size.
It's a
bike.
normal size bike. And I sat on this thing and I was like, all right. So I pushed it around the showroom until I found the right reflective surface. And I sat on the bike again and I looked at it and I went, oh, I need to lose some weight. I gotta.
She's a small one. Guy.
I'm a little too chunky for this bike. That's what it came down to.
So it's basically the GB500.
It is GB500. That's exactly right. God.
Oh.
Was that you again, Sleepy?
I think it was John.
Is it John?
Man, run fast and take chances.
Oh, fuck, man. We got any of those lighters
God.
Kromke left behind?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I want to blow your face off. Yeah. Wow.
You know, the
Anybody got a joke or anything? Because anything. We got to get the fuck out of here. I can smell that over here. I literally can smell that over here. That is vile.
Phil, say the line.
Fuck it. Dude. Ride fast and take chances. Get us out of here, Sleepy. John, play us out. Close your mouth. Breathe through your nose. Eject.
Take chances.